Coming to you live from my apartment, it's Rob Has a Podcast. And now here's the guy who hopefully will be podcasting with his last gasp. I am Rob Cesternino. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Rob Has a Podcast. We are so blessed today to have here with us one of the top survivor minds around. Here he is. Let's bring in two-time survivor and winner of Millennials versus Gen X. It's Adam Klein. Adam, how are you?
I'm great, Rob. I thought I was going to get the speech of the nicest guy.
Ever for sure.
Survivor.
For sure. Yes.
You're always so over the top, kind in these intros.
Yes, Adam. Are you ready for heroes versus villains too when you come back as a hero?
Yeah, to you only, Rob. To you only.
Okay. All right. I'm so excited to have Adam back here today because Adam always has so many interesting ideas about the season where that we were texting and already you were like sending me a bunch of stuff. I'm like, please, like, hey, let's do this on a podcast and talk about things. But no, really, I feel like that you have like so many interesting ideas about the game always, where it's not just like, where it's like groupthink and people have the same thoughts about the season. I always find that you come up with some interesting thoughts.
I have never been accused of going too much with the flow.
No.
That's for sure.
Okay, so we'll get into everything
my girlfriend can attest to that.
Mm-hmm. No doubt. Okay, we'll get into everything here from Survivor. Of course, on Friday, I will have Bryce Isaiah here on the feedback show. So if you want to get voicemails in for that podcast, I believe we're going to be live at 3 p.m. on Friday for a Feedback Friday. robisawebsite.com/voicemail. I also had the chance to talk with Sammy this morning on our exit interview. And Sammy had some interesting things to say, a couple of which I would like to ask you a little bit about here today. But Adam, how are you doing?
I'm doing good. I am a big fan of self-driving and electric vehicles myself.
Oh, okay.
I want to be able to set my car in motion, let it go to Las Vegas, and go and take a nap. Like, that's my dream.
Mm-hmm.
And if it goes fast, great, go fast. I trust self-driving cars. I know that that's like not the cool. See, there it is again. I'm going outside the grain already.
A little bit. Yeah, a little bit. Yeah.
I want my life in its hands. Take me. You know?
So you're more with Sammy than Sammy's mom. Although Sammy said his mom seemed to have an issue with electric vehicles.
Yeah, but apparently I listened to I don't, yours isn't up yet, your exit, right?
No, it's up. Yeah.
Oh, whoopsies.
Yes.
I read the Dalton Ross one. Haven't heard yours yet. And I'm supposed to be the nice guy.
Yeah.
But he mentioned that it's because his mom doesn't want the self-driving thing.
Okay. It wasn't.
He wants him to be driving.
It wasn't like
barbaric.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Human-powered cars, barbaric.
Okay.
Think about it. How many people get in accidents and get injured and die every single year from human-powered cars? And if it happens one time in a self-driving car, the whole news cycle goes berserk.
Mm-hmm.
So I think I hate to disagree publicly with Sammy's mom, but I'm going to.
Okay. All right. Good to know. Yeah. See, I thought that people were gonna have more of an issue with the owner of Tesla as opposed to self-driving cars versus robot cars.
Yeah, that's a whole nother can of worms. You want to get into that, Rob?
Why don't we say that for hour 2?
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. Of course, we're live.
Regardless of what Elon Musk is doing, I still like the idea of self-driving cars.
Mm-hmm. And we're here live with the patrons of Rob's podcast. We can take your questions here live. Got a lot of questions for you here today on this podcast. And so Adam Klein, of course, is here to talk about Survivor, but in his downtime, Adam Klein is busy helping reality TV hopefuls live out their dreams and hopefully one day get onto the show. How is the casting consulting going, Adam?
Very good. I love it. I feel like you probably would have never predicted in your wildest dreams, I mean, let's say 20 years ago, what your career would be. Am I right in thinking that?
Yeah. By the way, my dreams from 20 years ago are not appropriate to talk about on a podcast. But
no way, you have to then.
No, I do not.
You can't say that and then not.
Or this could be the last episode of Rob as a podcast. But that
what were your dreams, Rob?
That being said,
no,
that's between me and God. Okay, Adam.
Come on. Okay. You're really just gonna like.
But a podcast wasn't even invented, at that time, 20 years ago.
Right. Sure. All right. I guess I'll let you off the hook on this one, but maybe off the podcast, you got to tell me what those dreams were. Everyone wants to know, for the patrons at least. For the patrons.
Yeah.
But yeah, the point being, I never in a million years would have predicted that my job would be a casting coach for reality television. How niche is that?
Yeah.
I mean, if you compare them to podcast hosts at this point, podcast hosts are a dime a dozen, Rob.
I mean, that's a good rate.
Maybe if I do this for how many years have you been doing this now? 15 years?
Yeah, we're going into, it'll be year 13 in February.
Wow. If I am blessed enough to make it into year 13 of casting coaching, maybe there's going to be a whole truckload of casting coaches popping up out of the woodworks. But for now, it's pretty niche. And I really enjoy it. I actually feel like I get to work with people, like very face to face. I feel like I'm helping them, not just with their audition for reality television, but become a better speaker, speak with heart and conviction, say what they mean. I'm very like nitpicky with people. Just in my life, I didn't even realize this about myself, but like when somebody says something that they don't really mean, and I'm like, that's contradicts what you said earlier. Just like helping them craft the narrative that is like cohesive and coherent and makes sense. And I'm having success with it. It feels good. So people are doing well. I can't say too much more than that right now. But
let me read to you an email I got unsolicited from Will M from Boston, who said, "No question, but I want to plug Adam's casting service so he doesn't have to. I've participated in a couple different versions of what he offers, and it has really helped me feel more confident about my applications than ever before. Like all good businesses, his services really provide a solution to a problem that exists, which is throwing your application into the void. Adam gives great feedback, and so I'm glad that his clients are finding success getting through the process. He is a great sounding board, and if you're on the fence, get the heck off and sign up for something."
I promise I did not write that.
Yes.
I did not submit that.
That's not your fake handle.
Yeah. Oh man, see, I really appreciate that, Will. Thank you so much. The thing about like marketing this is because I am so serious about like the confidentiality of who I work with, it is very difficult for me to promote. Like I can't show before and after videos. Like, so I struggle with that a little bit. Like I need to figure out what that looks like eventually.
So you can't even say whether or not that there are 5 or 6 people from Survivor 43 that you helped in the process. You can't even confirm or deny that.
I can confirm that there are not quite that many.
Yeah.
Yes.
And I heard upwards of 9 people on Survivor 44. You can't even confirm or deny that. Yeah.
I guess technically I cannot. So
yes.
I guess you can think
they haven't announced the cast. Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So of course, that's what Adam is doing. Is there anything that that you are seeing in Survivor in the new era that you are specifically honing in on in terms of what you think Survivor is looking for in contestants?
Yeah, there's a number of things. One of the biggest ones is likability. every single person, even if they're a villain of sorts, is still rootable, right? Somebody is going to be at home and connect with them. And so, I think sort of gone are the days where you can go in your audition video and be the biggest jagoff that you can, think how to be. Because part of it is they want to cast people that they are going to appreciate being out there with. Because the people that are doing the casting are some of the producers, right, that are going to be spending time out there with these people, and they want to feel they've been doing this a long time, right? They want their existence out there to be pleasant and to feel like they're telling stories that matter and about good people that are like making a difference in their lives and doing something meaningful. So I do think that is something that, helps being likable, being rootable. And then I think having if you can, this is one of the things that I talk a lot about with my clients, is we figure out how and why are you the way that you are. If we can answer that question, and if you can, a lot of this is very like introspective and looking inside and like thinking about the story of your life and finding the thread that connects all of the stories of your life together so that it's one meaningful, cohesive story of how did you came to be the person that you are. And I think a lot of people look at the show now and they think, well, I need a sob story to get on the show. Or I need, there's so many like stories of, people who have overcome difficult obstacles, or they've lost a loved one or experienced some heartache. And people think, well, I can't get on the show because I haven't experienced those things. I really don't believe that people get on the show because of the sob story, quote unquote. I think they get on the show because of what they have to say about it, what they have to say about what they've learned from that experience or how they've grown. The more you can inject your opinions, your point of view, your perspective into the stories that you tell, the more compelling you are as a storyteller and the better your personality comes off. Because when you speak from a place of what you believe, that's when you speak with conviction, your natural biggest energy and personality naturally comes out. So you don't have to give good energy. You don't have to like fake that. It just happens when you're saying something that you really feel strongly about.
And I also think it's something that doesn't just help you in the casting process, but ultimately is something that it helps you in the game as well. When you are able to articulate that story of who you are and go out there with a fully formed identity. Like, I think that we see that from some of the other players that are in this game. And it's the type of thing that when you know who you are, then you have a better understanding of what you are doing on Survivor when you get there.
Yeah, one of the things that has not changed about casting is that opinionated people do really well in the process. Right? Like the more you know yourself, typically, the stronger your opinions become because you feel quite certain in how you feel. And that's another reason why people who know themselves well do well in the process, do well on the show, because they have a lot to say about the things that are happening around them. Yeah. So I see videos all the time where people are like, this happened, then this happened, then this happened, then this happened. And that's not a way that you're never going to get on the show just simply stating that, like, exactly what has happened in your life. And you're never going to see a confessional on the show where somebody's simply just stating what happens. That's on Big Brother. That's
Depends what show you want to be on.
Yeah. They'll do that for the challenges on Big Brother, which don't get me started on that. But for a show that has good storytelling, it's going to be not just what has happened, but what do you think about what's going on?
Okay. Well, let me find out what you think is going on here in Survivor 43.
I'm going to come with opinions.
Good.
Right?
Come in with opinions.
About. Yeah. Good.
Okay. And let me start off with Sammy, and let me get your opinion of this young guy, 19 years old, who comes in, plays a very exciting game, was making big moves. We love to see it. What was your impression of Sammy this season?
Sammy and I are very different, but I related with him and how he played the game a lot. Like I saw that that never say die sort of thing, and he was willing to do things that in the short term would make it more risky for him, but that he believed in the long term would set him up for success. And I respect that kind of play. So I think he was a lot of fun to watch. I think the show probably made a bigger deal of him lying about his age than really mattered. Like, I don't see how, I mean, lying, I don't even get how lying in that direction helps you, to be honest.
To say you're older than you are.
Yeah. To say you're older than you are. Because to me, if I knew, I think the fact that people knew, for example, that Will Wall was 18 years old and in high school, I think it might have helped him a little bit, at least in terms of getting further in the game potentially, because you're not as threatened by somebody who's 18 years old potentially.
Remind me again, did Will Wall lie about his age?
No.
Okay. So you're saying that if anything, he should have lied and said he was younger.
I mean, I don't think Will would have gotten away with that.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't see. Yeah, I mean, I think a big part of the game is about making yourself less threatening.
Mm-hmm.
And so why I don't totally understand lying about something that would make you more likely to win. Do you know what I mean? The argument that I imagine he would have, and I'll play devil's advocate against myself a little bit, is that he did that because people wouldn't award an 18 or 19-year-old $1 million when it got down to the end.
Yeah.
But certainly for the people that say he was going to reveal his age at the end, what would be the I don't see what the point of that would be.
Yeah. I didn't talk about this with Sammy in the exit interview. I would imagine, I think he probably thought that people would take him more seriously as a 22-year-old than a 19-year-old, but even before the final tribal council.
Do you want to be taken super seriously before a final tribal council? I mean, I guess, but not too seriously. You don't want people to be afraid of you, right? Here's something about Gabler that relates to this. First episode of the Merge, or I'm sorry, the Merge.
Earn the Merge, yeah. Or Mergatory, yeah.
He comes out and he says, Ellie, that's who I want out. And what happened? Ellie went out, and did Gabler become a threat? Not at all, right? Not at all. And I think it's because he was so transparent and open. And this is an interesting thing that I've thought about, is the idea of getting out who you want without coming across as a strategic threat. And I think being young or being seen as crazy or being seen as a loose cannon or whatever can actually help you be in control, target people, and get away with it.
Okay. This is very interesting. So you are saying that, so if I am out there and I am saying, okay, let's vote off Jimmy, not because he is a threat, not because he's more likely to win, but because I hate him.
Yep.
I am not seen as a threat. I am instead seen as somebody who, okay, he is not playing strategically, and that his threat level is lower because he is just going off of emotion.
And if that works, am I threatened by you? Maybe not.
Wow. Okay. This is super interesting.
Not something that I would be able to pull off anymore, at least. Right? Like if people know you to be a strategist or whatever, But that's the beauty of a new player season, is you can come in and sort of
Yes.
craft your own narrative.
Now, is this a hypothesis, or is this something that you have seen?
It's a hypothesis.
Yes.
I think that what we've seen is people do it unintentionally.
Mm-hmm.
Like Philip Shepard, right? You think of like people like that who, you know, were able to sort of get away with things and not become a threat, but can't clearly articulate it necessarily at the end as to this is what I was doing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I'm trying to think, though, if a player like that has gone far and if that type of gameplay can ultimately be rewarded, or do you have to sort of like have the reveal at the end of like, you thought I was just playing emotionally. I actually had strategic reasons for everything I did.
Yeah, I mean, if Gabler can come out at the end of this, and maybe this is the big reveal of the season, right? Like, I think that Gabler is actually quite smart, right? But I do think that his cast is not threatened by him. That's what it feels like. Do you agree?
I would agree very much so.
I think that they feel like he's not a threat. And I think that he's actually quite smart. The question will be, you know, like if he had hid some things, then maybe he could sort of pull the mask off at the end and be like, I wanted you to think about me this way. The question is he aware enough of the way that people feel about him to be able to articulate that at the end? Because if you are not aware that people are thinking that you're either not that smart or not that threatening or whatever, you need to acknowledge it before they do when you make it to the end and say, I know that you all think that I'm this.
Yeah. I'm glad you brought up Gabler. Yes. I have a question for you about Gabler. So I went back and I was watching the episode again before our conversation, and I thought that there was an interesting exchange between Gabler and Owen. And I thought it was interesting for a couple of reasons. One, it really had nothing to do with anything else that happened in the episode. So I thought it was interesting that it was in there.
I thought that was strange
also,
too.
Yes. Yes. And also, the episode's title comes from now. It is a title that has a double meaning. But let me play the clip for you. It's I'm gonna stop down in the middle of this. Here's Gabler talking to Owen.
Cody and Jesse flipped. Yeah. They told me about it last second. But here's the good news. I've got a plan for me and you. Okay. To get to the final 3.
Okay. All right. So Gabler has a plan for him and Owen to get to the final 3. We do not know who the third person in this plan ultimately is. I do think that is interesting. Do you get a sense of what Gabler is planning?
What was the title of the episode, by the way?
So the title of the episode comes, and then we get Gabler's confessional.
I knew Owen would be very betrayed by tonight's reversal of the vote. So I immediately pulled Owen aside as the first person I talked to. I mean, I'm going to lose, so no, afraid to take me. No. But dude, I'm telling you, it's not as bad as you think. It'll be better tomorrow morning, trust me. I'm in a very good position. I have a relationship with everybody out here. And even tonight, when I was part of a blind side, no one's talking about me as a target. I'm hiding in plain sight.
Hiding in plain sight is the name of the episode.
Hiding in plain sight. That is exactly what we're talking about. That is exactly what we're talking about. Wow. Yeah. I mean,
a double meaning also that the idol also, or the advantage also, was hiding in plain sight like Gabler, but Gabler is the one who has that line in there. Now maybe they felt like, I don't know at what point they come up with naming the episode and like, oh, okay, hiding in plain sight. That's a great name for this episode. Let's keep this in there.
This is a real argument for Gabler as the winner of this season.
Yes.
I mean, I hadn't really thought about that before, but that is the story of how he wins if he wins.
Go back to last week's episode. What does it? We go to tribal council. off the cliffhanger of Gabler saying, oh, Jesse and Cody, I got to do something about those guys. Then we have this point where Gabler is talking to Owen about, hey, I've got a plan. You got to trust me. We really don't hear from Gabler otherwise in the rest of the episode other than this, but he's working on something and we don't know what it is.
Okay, because we have seen even in the episode before that, Cody and Jesse were like, we trust Gabler. We want to bring Gabler in. And so there's a lot of setup between Gabler and Jesse and Cody. And where I thought it was going to go a couple episodes ago was that Gabler was going to get sniped, right?
Mm-hmm.
That he was going to attempt to go after, because I saw the preview where he was talking to Carla saying, we got to worry about Jesse and Cody. Really, that was just set up for the next episode. But I thought maybe he would do that in that episode, and it wasn't going to work. Jesse and Cody and Carla and Cassidy were going to just, snipe Gabler. But he's still there. That story has not been resolved. And if they just vote Gabler out, at this point, like way late, it's not that much of a story. But if he somehow does get those guys out of the game, wow, I had not considered that until this moment, that Gabler could actually win this season. And the story was literally hiding in plain sight.
Yeah, hiding in plain sight. For Gabler, though, Gabler, Owen, who is the third that Gabler is thinking of?
Well, I would have thought it would have been Sammy.
Yeah, but I don't think that Gabler would need to go to Owen with that plan of, hey, I'm working on a secret plan to get us to the final three, and the third person is the other person from Baca who we were with from the beginning of the game.
It feels like the other four are all pretty threatening. Like, who's? I mean, are any of them like goats? I don't think so.
I wonder if it's Carla.
Really?
I mean, I think that we've seen her talk to Gabler a little bit here along the way.
Carla loses to Gabler?
I don't know if that's necessarily going to work, but I'm just, like, it has to be one of the other people that are in the game.
Let's go with the theory that this is Gabler's winning story.
Okay.
What does that look like? I mean, this is a crazy idea that I hadn't considered. But
maybe also Gabler does not have the agency to pull off the plan that ultimately he's working, and something gets screwed up along the way.
That's what I've been thinking would happen, right?
But
that seems like the more obvious.
Who did he turn to with the information that he got from Jesse and Cody? He went to Carla to talk about it. That was his confidant. So I just feel like that might be the person that he's looking at as a person who could be the third, where he's maybe if Owen and Carla.
If Carla loses to Gabler at the end, I feel like that story has not been told as to why that would make any sense.
Mm-hmm. Or Carla could get picked off before then.
Right. Yeah, but then it's not right. I mean, so let's talk about Carla and Jesse for a second.
Yes.
Because this relationship is really interesting to me. And I know nothing beyond what I'm seeing on the show, and except for the one piece of information that hasn't been shared on the show. But I think that the show might be hiding an important piece of information about this relationship, potentially, which is apparently Jesse and Carla were in the same graduating class at Berkeley.
Mm-hmm.
Saw that on Twitter. I'm assuming that's true.
Yeah.
Okay.
I can't speak to the same graduating class. I know they both were at Berkeley at similar times. I don't know if they had any sort of connection there or mutuals. Yeah. I
don't think that they knew each other, but
they know each other.
Mari from Millennials Gen X was a graduate of Burlingame High School, the same high school that I went to. We grew up in the same town, and I knew that about her. And for reasons that are basically outside of the game, I was going to be loyal to her. I was like, separately from the rest of the tribe, we connected over this thing that we were from the same town. We went to the same school. We decided to hide it from everybody else, right?
Mhm.
No one else was going to know that outside of the game bond and connection that we had, even though I'd never met her before. But like, she was there at the same time that my brother was there. Like, you know, and those things, just the idea that like somebody's from home, even if you don't know them, it's a reason to put some trust into
It's
somebody.
our secret. We have this advantage that nobody else knows about.
Maybe.
This
I
is
have
our secret weapon.
absolutely no idea if this
But
is something
I
they
think
ever
that's the
discussed about on the
psychology
island.
of it. Like, not to say that it is actually that big of a deal. But I think that's how people that's probably how you felt, right?
I certainly felt a loyalty towards Mari that I didn't feel towards anybody else. Like I wanted to do it for Burlingame. You know what I mean? Like, how cool would it be to have both of us in the final 3 or whatever? Now, of course, she gets voted out at my first tribal council and I get blindsided, and all of that is a moot point. But that was how I was thinking early on. I was like, Mari is that's my person, right? That's going to be like my tightest ally, and people aren't going to see it coming. And there was a hint early in the merge where Jesse's like, I really like Carla. And the moment he said that, I'm like, I think, that might be the Berkeley thing, because they've only known each other for a day at this point. Like, it's like early on at the merge. What is bonding them there? Now, maybe they just have a really special connection and it has nothing to do with that. Could be. Totally speculating here.
Yeah.
But I think those things matter when you think about trust and you think about relationships, and everyone's moving around. If you know that there's someone that there's a bit more of a solid foundation there, I think it matters.
So may I play devil's advocate with you?
Yeah.
Because then in the episode last night, we saw Jesse actively working against Carla, where Carla thought, okay, I want to vote out Cassidy. I have reasons to vote out Cassidy. She goes to Jesse and talks about how she would like to see Cassidy go out of the game. Jesse takes that information and says, well, if Carla wants Cassidy out of the game, I'd like her to stay. And I'm more concerned about Sammy. And what I would like to do is then get Carla pointed the wrong direction to make her look dumb.
If I were playing with Mari and we got down to the end and I felt like Mari was going to beat me, I would want to do the same thing. I would want to discredit somebody that I'm going to the end with, to show that that it's not all their plan. They don't have everything together, not necessarily to target them to get Carla out, but to weaken her and make her potentially easier to beat at the end. So I still think it could, be that like they want to go together, but like there are still battles that can happen even when you're not going to vote out that person.
So you feel like that's like a little bit more of like a glancing blow than opposed to like, I am going to be the person responsible for taking her out of the game.
Yeah, and you want to eliminate options from somebody who has the potential to defeat you, right? So if he gets rid of Cassidy, who I don't think he has a special connection with, right? That's not a problem for him, for Cassidy to go. Then, as far as I'm aware, I don't know. I'm just a talking head watching the show. But my theory is that he has a closer connection with Carla than with Cassidy. So you don't mind weakening that person and taking their options away, because then who does Carla have left? She's got to come back to Jesse.
I'd like to ask you about the vote that we saw last night. And this is something that I was asking Steven about on the know-it-alls. And I feel still like I do not have a satisfactory answer to this question. And I went back and I was looking to see if I could figure out exactly why. The order of events that happened was that, okay, Carla decided that she wanted to go after Cassidy. She goes and tells different parties, Sammy, Jesse, company, that I want to go after Cassidy. That's the plan. Then Jesse comes in and says, okay, actually, instead of going after Cassidy, we'll make Carla look bad and we will actually go after Sammy. But when we get to tribal council, Carla isn't voting for Cassidy. She too is one of the votes for Sammy.
Yeah. So how did that happen?
How did that happen?
I don't know. I was wondering the same thing. You know, I saw something about like, I tried to sort of figure it out from Sammy's exit interview, but I couldn't really necessarily piece it all together. He mentioned something about playing the shot in the dark being a foil for Jesse's plan to get Carla to vote for Cassidy, but I don't understand.
How would that work?
I don't know. I mean, he said like, I sort of screwed up Jesse's plan by saying that I was going to play my shot in the dark because then, you know, it stopped his whole thing of getting Carla to vote Cassidy from happening.
If Carla was going to vote for Cassidy, wouldn't that make her more want to vote for Cassidy than to vote
Maybe
for...
because now a vote for Cassidy is no longer going to be there. And maybe Carla would have thought that she needed Sammy's vote to do it.
Perhaps, or maybe that Carla was able to sort of like read the writing on the wall where then she knew that, okay, well, obviously Sammy is going home if he is playing the shot in the dark tonight.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Or did somebody tell her?
That's the other question. And was that person who told her Gabler?
Oh, interesting. Yeah, maybe. I don't know. But clearly something happened that maybe we'll find out next episode, but also maybe we won't. Because I feel like sometimes like earlier this with Owen and Cassidy somehow coming together to decide that Owen is going to lie about his vote and say that he voted off Ryan, and Cassidy's going to lie about her vote and say that she voted off Janine.
Well, can I say that going back to that Gabler's clip that I played to you, because Owen is still lying about that.
Yes,
because
he is.
listen
He's
to
saying,
this.
I've been on the wrong side of every single vote.
Here he is. I mean, this is right after the clip that we were listening to before.
Me as a target. I'm hiding in plain sight. I have a really good plan. You know, I haven't voted correctly once. It's okay. Mariah. It's okay.
Owen tells Gabler, I haven't voted right once since Mariah. And he did vote for Janine.
Right. And Cassidy did not. And they both lied. Are they working together? Are they protecting each other? Like, what is, you know, what is actually going on there? And I was hoping that we would find that out in the following episode.
Well, we did see them have a conversation in this episode, right? Right after the immunity challenge, that Cassidy was feeling really bad about the not winning the challenge. And who does she talk to? Owen.
Yeah, they might have a closer relationship than we're being shown. And they're certainly keeping secrets for each other. I was curious why Cassidy voted for Ryan and not, like, did she know that everyone was voting and just threw a vote to, you know, as a shot over the bow sort of thing? Or did she actually think people were voting out Ryan, or what? You know, we saw why she would have wanted to get out Ryan, but not necessarily why she actually places the vote there. That story was never really told, which I think is probably not a great sign for probably either of their chances to win. The fact that we're not totally told, because if you're just casually watching this show, you would not know that Owen was lying.
Right.
You would have to remember the votes being shown at the end of that tribal council. They didn't flashback. They didn't they're not highlighting that he has been lying this whole time.
The show is totally they want you at home, the viewer, to believe like, yes, Owen has been wrong every single vote. Yes, this plays into his storyline, the Charlie Brown of it all, and Owen has
Everyone's
not
against
voted
me.
right.
I'm always outside. I voted incorrect here. Yeah.
Yeah, they never gave us a confessional about Owen telling us in the episode, okay, I actually did vote correctly, but I'm telling people, like at tribal council, it came up in the fight against James. I was like, since when?
Right. Right.
But
I mean, yeah, he's just lying about it. And there's no like peek behind the curtains to let the audience know that that's what's happening here.
Yeah, and the real question is why? Why is this happening?
I've been wondering that for episodes, and I don't now if one of them wins, we'll get the answer in the finale, maybe, and they'll flash back to this whole thing. Now that would be cool. Like a genius, the show The Genius, like
I know.
Reveal.
Bro, I know.
Like that would be fun to see survive. And they are playing around with more flashbacks and things like that. But I've never seen them do a flashback that goes back a course of a season, like, oh, here's the relationship you never saw. I mean, that would be kind of fun.
Mm-hmm. Did you like it when they showed that Jesse had Dwight's idol the next episode after Dwight got voted out?
Amazing. I love that they're playing. Are you surprised by that?
I didn't like it.
Why?
I didn't like it because that I feel like, well, now what am I watching if that I'm going to like walk away from this show every single, like, it's not like a movie where it's all in one sitting. Like if in the course of an episode, you wanted to do that and then pull the curtain back, I was like, aha, it was really over there the whole time. But to give me like a week to sort of like marinate on this episode and then tell me the thing that I thought happened all week actually didn't happen, it to me was like I felt like that it was I don't know what to believe anymore.
Yeah, but in general, I think I might agree with you, but I think the reason why I disagree in this particular instance is that reveal wasn't relevant to the result of that tribal council. Dwight going home had nothing to do with that. So it was more of a multi-episode arc of, like, do you know what I mean? So for that reason, it's not like we didn't understand why the vote happened the way that it did with Dwight. It's not like the story of that.
It did change the motivations, where if that would have happened in one episode, I think we would have walked away from that episode like, oh my God, Jesse, what a player. He got Dwight's idol and then voted him out of the game. Oh my God. It would have been like
changed
Sarah Lucino with the legacy advantage.
Right. It certainly added context to Jesse's motivations. Yes. But beyond that, I mean, I guess that is big. But would he have done that? I guess an important question is, would he have done that regardless of the idol?
Yeah.
And I think the story was shown as to why he would in that episode, where if Jesse wins, again, his story is definitely being told. And let's say he's up against Cody at the end. There was a scene in that episode where he says, I want to vote off Noel. Cody wants Dwight. And I want Cody basically to, in our twosome, to see himself as the guy in charge.
Yes.
I totally understand this approach. To let somebody else within the twosome say, okay, I'm the one in charge calling the shots. And if you don't have a strong opinion one way or the other, you let them have that.
Yes. Great. I want to talk about this. Let me just one last thing on the Dwight Idol thing. I am totally open to the idea that I care more about this as a person who talks about this show all week long. And so when you play with, okay, here's what happened, and then the next week, actually, it didn't happen that way. This is what happened. It really does bother me more so. Maybe that could be a me thing more so than it bothers the average viewer. Going back to what you're talking about, this I think is very interesting because that we had a similar situation come up in this week's episode where Jesse and Cody were not necessarily on the same page about Sammy versus Cassidy. You brought up a scenario where Jesse said, hey, I really would like to see Noel go, but Cody wants to see Dwight go. And so sometimes you have to let your ally feel like that they have the agency. However, on this vote, Cody said, Jesse and I, we are not seeing eye to eye on this, but Jesse got his way. It was Sammy who ended up going home here.
But maybe allowing Cody to vote off Dwight earlier, he can spend some of that capital here to get his way now, where he sees that it's more important to get his way in this moment.
So I think that all of us who are watching the show feel like that if Jesse and Cody are both in the final 3, that Jesse would be the winner. Is that fair to say that that's the conventional wisdom?
Absolutely.
Is it
That's
worth
the story
a thought?
That we're being told.
Yeah. Is it worth a thought experiment to even discuss if that is necessarily the case if we look at the jury?
Sure.
Okay.
Worth a thought.
Because in my conversation with Sammy today, I had asked, like, did you see, in talking about Jesse and Cody, I'm trying to remember which question I asked that he talked about this, but I guess it's not super important.
You see them as a threat, basically, right? Or did you in the game?
He talked about how he didn't see Jesse as much of a threat because he said that he thought Jesse was just a person who just didn't really talk to anybody at the camp. And what he now realizes is that maybe Jesse just was not engaging with him, that maybe Jesse clocked him and wasn't giving him that side of things. He felt like that he was tighter with Cody. He kind of got Cody. And I'm just wondering, if you go down the line in the jury, do people feel better about Cody than they might about Jesse from a personal relationship standpoint?
I don't know. It's possible. And is he surprised watching the show, or maybe was he surprised at Tribal Council when Jesse revealed all of the? I mean, let's be very clear about something. Jesse is a savage. Jesse is one of the most savage players to maybe ever play. When you really think about the blind sides that he has pulled on almost exclusively people that feel like he has their back, is wild, right? Going all the way back to NECA, right? That's his island mom. And then you've got his island wife or husband or whatever, Dwight. And he savagely blindsides Dwight.
Jesse did single-handedly decimate the Vesey tribe.
Yeah. And Noel, right? Someone who maybe they
took out his entire starting tribe. Yeah, that is fair.
When he voted her out, she thought he was with him.
Not to mention Justine. Yeah.
Right? Yeah. It's the list goes on, and then even with Noel, voting somebody out who brings you on the loved ones visit. It seems so obvious watching the show that it's a game, right? And that hey, it's just a move, whatever. I was presented with the option to vote out Jay. Remember, my arch nemesis, basically, who I had been wanting to vote off every single vote for a while. Will came to me, and because there were 9 people left. We had just done the loved ones visit, and Will was going to flip to our side and vote off Zeke with us. And Will comes to me and he says, what if we just go Jay? They will never see it coming. There's no way he'll because everyone at this point knew Jay had an idol, right? There was telephone of Jay has an idol, if you remember that. And so he says, this is the one time where he will never see it coming. He'll never expect it after the loved ones visit, right? And I just was like, I just can't do that. I can't do it. I am not nearly as savage as Jesse, and I wanted nothing more than to win that game, right? But it was I have to give him a 1 vote pass. I just have to. after like what he did for me.
Mhm.
And that was outside of the game. That was the one time in Millennials versus Gen X where I made a decision that was outside of the game. Now, I think you could also say that it was a good decision in the game as well, because I think if I do that, the whole jury composition changes. I think the way that people view me totally changes. So there are game reasons as well, but that wasn't the reason why I said no, right? The reason why I said no was I couldn't do it.
Mhm.
And so it matters. I mean, I guess it's slightly different in that they're not actually there with their loved ones. Not slightly. I guess that makes a big difference now that I think about it.
Yeah.
Versus the letters. I mean, the letters were huge for me, but in person is like something different. So I guess I may have just spent all that time talking about that to just kind of disagree with myself a little bit.
Yeah.
But like, it is very savage to vote out somebody who has just given you the loved one's reward.
Mhm.
And he's just like, his kid wants that money, right?
Get that money, baby.
Get that money, baby. I
Mhm.
mean, he's such a likable guy, but he really is playing quite a villainous game.
Playing very hard. Yeah. Yeah, and I think that the letters were a good reminder of like, oh yeah, this is why I'm here in the first place. Like I just met these people. Like I have
But he was already being savage. The letters didn't do that. You know what I mean? Like he was already blindsiding people that thought he was with him, and like, you know, like, yeah, he's been willing to do that from the beginning. And even the performance that and not that it was a performance, but like, oh, thank you so much for that, and then boop, bye-bye. You know?
Yeah. So,
oh man,
we got here talking about Jesse versus Owen. Jesse versus Cody in the finals.
Oh, I'm sorry. I totally, yeah.
No, this is all good. And we saw in last night's episode, Carla was thinking about trying to cut her ally, her best person, which was Cassidy. That did you think there was any I don't want to say wisdom, but are there benefits that maybe like don't come through at first glance to potentially, if you're Carla, cutting Cassidy?
Okay, this is something I've been thinking about a lot because I think this is really interesting. And it maybe is a difference between how the game is evolving. When I played both times, I went balls to the wall to protect my allies because I wanted people who wanted me around and were going to be loyal to me in my endgame, right? And I wanted to have options and have people have my back and that sort of thing. And I would have done, and I did do a lot to protect those people, especially in like Winners at War, even though it looks like to the audience, maybe I played a sneaky game. Like you just didn't know who my real allies were by watching the show, but like Michelle would have done anything for her, right? Ben, I risked my entire game to save him, to, you know, people that I wanted to go to the end with, basically, right? And I don't think that the way I play is as good anymore. I think that because the game is evolving, and even I think looking back at 40, you could make the argument that it had already started, that it's way more about being seen as a threat and surviving. And from that line of thinking, Carla is minimizing her own threat level over and over again. Maybe not over and over again, but she definitely did it when James went home. Right? She allowed, when she had the option to do something about it, one of her closest allies to get voted out of the game, probably, and I can't speak for Carla, but I would guess part of that is, well, my threat level is going to go down if one of my closest allies goes home. They're not going to be looking at me if I don't have numbers. And when the game is so fluid, those people who are alone become people that you can work with because they're not as threatening. They don't have the numbers to take you out. So if Carla's able to get rid of Cassidy and she says, I don't have anybody left, no one's coming for Carla. It's a great way to survive. Is it a great way to win? I'm not sure. I think you could make the argument that that is the right way to play in the modern era and that should be rewarded. It's not how I play. And it's not how I, like, let's say, voted for a winner in Millennials versus Gen. I mean, in Winners at War. But I do think that has changed, and that is an interesting idea that is shifting. Does that make sense?
I want to make sure that I'm following what you're saying. So, you do need allies, especially in the pre-merge and the early part of the merge. But when we get towards this part of the game, there may be some advantage here when, we're getting down to it of, well, I'm not in a pair anymore, or I am willing to cut my pair. And now people are looking at me as somebody to be picked up as opposed to somebody to be targeted at this point in the game.
Right. And my point is that works much better when the game is super fluid day to day.
Mm-hmm.
In Millennials versus Gen X, coming into the merge, I was like, we have a 6-person alliance. And if we can get rid of somebody when there's 13 people left, we will have the numbers and take people out.
Yeah.
Right. And I'm not, so my whole goal is to get out people on the other side, right? To get the numbers on our side. And you don't see people thinking about it like this because recent history has shown that those groups don't stay together. You're already assuming that it won't. And so when it splinters, you don't want to be the biggest group within that. It's the opposite of what it used to be. When you had a 6-person alliance, you wanted to make sure you had a 4 within that. I felt like I had that, right? The 6 was me, Hannah, and Zeke, Ken, Jessica, Dave. And then the 4 was without Zeke on one side and Dave on the other. So it's me, Jessica, Ken, and Hannah, right? So I had a 4 within the 6 that was like, that's how I'm going to get to the end of the game and win this game. That was my idea. Mm-hmm. But when you assume that the 6 won't stick together, having the 4 in the 6 makes you the target. Makes you the guy that's going to get kicked out. And because recent seasons have tended to go that way, it's almost like a self-fulfilling prophecy where if you assume it's going to happen, then you need to take steps to make sure that you're not at the top of that pecking order. And by doing that, you create the prophecy that has been laid out. It's like a time travel movie. Mm-hmm. Where you cause the problem you set out to fix. Mm-hmm. Do you know what I mean?
Yes. So look at this. No. So let's start to put this into the context of in this season, okay? Based off of these last couple of votes, and maybe this starts to make a little bit more sense as to what Carla might be thinking. So at the last vote, okay, all of a sudden, Noelle, Sammy, Owen are saying we gotta break up Carla and Cassidy. We're coming for them. That's a tight 2. We have to get rid of them.
And she's hearing other people say we need to break up Cody and Jesse, so she knows that this is the way that people are thinking, right?
Carla also a little bit shades of Russell Hantz is regretting that she told Cassidy that she has the idol. I may have made a mistake by telling her that I have the idol. I shouldn't have done that. So maybe she's feeling like, okay, well, that is one way to fix this problem. But if you're Carla, and we have not seen, so I was talking about this with Steven last night. I am disappointed in the show that we have never really gotten, what is Carla's vision? What is Carla's plan for who is she looking to get to the end with? Because we know she has a lot of good relationships, and maybe Carla is like, hey, everybody is thinking that I'm with Cassidy, but I've got like 4 other people kind of like on the hook of, I've got a Sammy, I've got a Gabler, I've got a Jesse, are all people that I could like have as potential number ones. Am I better off getting rid of my public number one, getting the target off of my back? She also knows that I have an idol. And then if she is talking with Gabler about a final 3 or is talking with Jesse and Cody about a final 3, maybe that's a way to sort of, let some of the pressure out of this target that's on her back.
Yeah. I mean,
it's interesting.
It is. I think that is what she's doing. But yeah, it is a good question. Like who then becomes the final 3 in her mind?
Mm-hmm.
And if that final 3 is Jesse and Cody, is that a winning combination for her?
What if it's Owen and Gabler?
Which is what you kept coming back.
That was Gabler's to the end of this plan. Like, I wonder if this is like some sort of like a unifying theory of Gabler and Carla.
Okay, so let's run with that. Let's say that is going to be a strong alliance moving forward. There are 6 people left. That's half.
Mm-hmm.
Then you have Jesse, Cody, and Cassidy.
Mm-hmm.
So then it becomes 3 on 3. Jesse and Cody are loaded up.
They're loaded up also, but Carla doesn't know that, and they don't know that Jesse has an idol. Jesse does know that Carla has an idol, although that I don't know if Cody and Cassidy are on the same page. Cody has talked about how he does not necessarily trust Cassidy. But
wow. Okay, so I'm imagining a possible final 3 of Carla, Gabler, and Owen, and I still don't know. Could Gabler beat Carla? I mean,
I don't think so. I do not think that Gabler is going to win the season, but I do wonder if he's going to be playing a more important role than we might be thinking at this point.
If let's say that Jesse gets his way, right? I mean, look, he's loaded up. He's got 1, maybe 2 idols, right? Cody's maybe got an idol, depending on how they share them amongst them. We don't even know who's holding Cody's idol right now, right? Or do we? Have they ever?
No, we do not have clarity. We saw that Jesse told Noelle, "Oh, I was just giving the idol back to Cody," but that does not mean that is what actually happened.
And it hasn't said on his Chiron recently how many idols he has.
Oh, I did not look. I'll watch the episode again tomorrow and see.
How many times are you going to watch the episode?
Look,
you've already watched it 3 times.
You think people want to hear me on podcasts talk about like, oh, I don't know. People come here looking for answers.
I love Survivor. I always have. I always will. I don't think I could watch it 3 times in 1 week and then say, I'm going to go watch it again.
But I don't have to watch, 42. Like, I probably won't watch the challenge again.
Good.
Yeah, I just watch the strategy scenes. I don't want to watch every.
You fast forward the challenge.
I probably won't watch
the most epic challenge. This was. Can we talk about this?
Yeah. So yes. Well, let's go to there. But I do want to say that I think that what we're talking about with Carla voting out Cassidy and this idea of voting out your ally at this point in the game that you brought up, I think is fascinating. And I think that is something that is worth noting to see if we see it happen in future seasons and how this plays out for Carla and Cassidy and for Jesse and Cody.
To me, it's not like, I don't even know what Carla's motivations are. So I have no idea if this is what she's actually thinking. But if the thought is, let me make myself look weaker. What we're hearing on the show is not that. What we're hearing on the show is she's worried about the idol. So this is just a hypothetical, not even necessarily what Carla's thinking scenario where it's just, does it make sense to vote out my ally, to lower my own threat level? And I do think that can help you get to the end. But it remains to be seen if juries are willing to reward that kind of gameplay, because it feels scared, right? It feels like, I don't think I can maintain what I have going unless I totally remove all of my options, and then people see me as easy to move on with. But it's an interest. Yeah, it's something to keep an eye on to see if that kind of game can be rewarded.
Mm-hmm. And
where you willingly vote out your allies to weaken yourself.
Mm-hmm. And Corey B says, Adam, it's cool. Rob has a video speed adjuster. Okay.
Okay, there you go. All right. So now 3 times.
So do most of the people listening to this podcast. Yeah.
What's that?
So do most of the people listening to the podcast.
Oh yeah, they're listening. If I start talking like this, it's going to really screw them up, because now we're talking at 4 times speed.
Mm-hmm. All right, Adam, you want to talk about classic, iconic Survivor challenges. Would you say, in your Survivor experience, was there one iconic challenge that you competed in that you were as geeked to be a part of as Owen was for this one?
I mean, I definitely competed in Winners at War, the one where you're standing on the thing, holding the thing is definitely an iconic challenge. But did I want to do it? Hell no.
When you're standing on the thing, holding the thing,
holding the.
Oh yeah. So that's a classic. Yeah,
it's a classic that mortified me.
Mm-hmm.
I am afraid. I always have said that I'm afraid of heights, but I think what I am afraid of is falling.
Yeah.
Because I'm fine in a plane. Do you know what I mean? Like, I'm fine. Like, I even went paragliding and when I did the coin flip trip, and it was like nice, right? Like, it wasn't, but like bungee jumping, I would never, right? Even diving off of a into a swimming pool, I don't like that, right? I don't like falling into, so that challenge.
I get it.
Even the one where you stand on the little thing in the water, that was the one that I went out on. And I think maybe part of the reason why I couldn't make the transition at the end was because I was afraid, I think, a little bit to stand on the little tippy top, and it kept my body from standing up. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
So those were iconic, but I certainly was not like, give me them. I'm trying to think if there was anything that I was like really dying to do. I don't think so. I was more afraid of the challenges than stoked on it.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we had Last Gasp last night. Again, I said this that it was only the 4th time that they've ever done this. Isn't that wild?
That is wild. It's kind of, yeah. I mean, I'm so glad that they brought it back and that they're willing to do this kind of thing again, because it is a monster of a challenge. And Owen had, I saw him post on Twitter that he was posting on Reddit before the season,
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how long ago or whatever, saying that he wanted to do that challenge. So this goes back. I mean, Owen has been a fan for so long and has been trying to get on the show for so long. I first talked to Owen in 2017. Looked at his audition video way back then. So this is a guy that's I called myself, when I was going through casting, I called myself a super duper fan. There are people on the show now where it's like everyone's a super duper fan. I'm a dime a dozen now.
Mm-hmm. Posts on Reddit, super fan.
Yeah, posts on Reddit. Can do screenshots of because I think I did something that was would you ever apply for Survivor? And I think I did one years before I ever got on that was like, yes, and I will, and I'm gonna win or something. And you know, people are like, oh, look what Adam said or whatever. It's like, now everybody's got a Reddit history. You know what I mean? But it's great. I mean, I love to see really big, super duper fans who have been dreaming about this, like finally get the chance. And when you go out and you're actually able to do it and win immunity or find an idol or pull off a blindside, which I think Owen's still waiting for that one.
I mean, his vote did blindside James.
His lack of vote. Yeah. I mean, was it his vote anymore? Right?
He was in on the plan, but he did not.
He was in on the plan. He didn't vote.
Yeah.
Didn't they steal his vote?
His vote was stolen. Yes, but he was in on. But he was in on. He knew that was coming.
Can you call it his vote?
I mean, that Noel voted with his vote.
Poor guy. I want him to be able to pull off at least one good blindside. You know, that completes the. Well, it doesn't complete it. Completing it is winning. But you know, that gets you there to like, okay, I've had the full super duper fan experience. But I think it's really cool that they're finally getting their chance. And I love that he specifically called out this challenge, wanted to do it, and then absolutely demolished it. Carla and Owen, like, I would never in a million years, never be able to do what they did. That was extremely impressive.
All right. Well, Corey B is asking us, are we worried that we will not see Last Gasp back again because the contestants broke it? Was that the last gasp for Last Gasp?
I think it'll be a while, probably. I think if they do it again, they will make it lower. Probably. I mean,
when you say make it lower, what do you mean?
The rate like lower.
Yeah.
So that it go or just do it when the tide is going to go like even higher. So that, I mean, I think there's only so much you can predict for sure about the tides. Maybe, I don't know. I'm not a meteorologist or whatever, but like, I mean, I think they were probably like, we didn't make it low enough. Like we should have. Yeah. Right.
Yeah. So a couple things about
there's
this.
Probably ways still to do it again, I would guess.
First off, would it be totally cheesy and totally stupid if instead of doing it in the ocean that you did it basically like in a pool, basically like you're laying there and the thing is filling up with water, as opposed to that the tide is rising and there are waves and giant swells?
Yeah, I think it would be totally cheesy, and I think it would totally defeat the brilliance of the challenge, because the point of it is not that you no longer have space and it just like slowly goes here. It's that you have to be aware of the way that the waves are moving and breathe at appropriate times, and then hold your breath when the water's coming over you so that you don't take in all the water. Like if it's just slowly moving, you could just like put it out, and then at a certain point you just can't breathe anymore and it's a holding your breath competition. But it's not, but the waves I think are the important part of the challenge. I mean, I guess you could say you could do it in a wave pool or whatever, but like,
yeah.
Nah.
All right. Second,
by the way, though, oh, sorry. Go ahead.
So, second, did you, Adam Klein, have any issue with them awarding 2 immunity necklaces, saying that the contestants beat the challenge as opposed to letting it play out?
No, I don't. I think that that's fine. I understand why people might have an issue with that, especially because it makes Cody's advantage more powerful, right? It basically took him from a 50-50 chance of winning the thing to definitely winning the thing. But you know, I mean, they could have gone either way. And this is where production has a little bit of wiggle room to sort of do what they want. They easily could have said, okay, the challenge now is you have to stick your head completely underwater, and it's a who can hold their breath the longest competition. And it would have been over in a minute and a half, or however long people can hold their breath for, right? But I think it's totally reasonable as well to do what they did. Yeah, and I don't have a problem with it. And while we're on the subject of praising production, I would
Yes.
like to take a moment to acknowledge that they have listened to us,
Yes.
got rid of the god awful do or die, because that happened at 7
Yes.
the last 2 seasons, right?
Yes.
So we can say that is bye-bye, I hope, forever.
Yep.
Awful twist, should never be back. And this is much better, right? A thing where you find a thing where you can have a second shot at immunity, totally fine. And I actually I saw some people say, well, they should have revealed it right then. I actually like that they don't reveal it until the end, because now it's an advantage that you can do something with, right?
Okay.
You can lie, you can play around it, you can fib and say that it's an advantage. It should be kind of powerful.
Great.
Not
Well,
game breaking.
I wanted to talk this through with you. Okay, so choose your champion advantage. I know you think a lot about these things. You're saying a thumbs up for choose your champion.
Yeah, I think totally
the
reasonable.
CYC.
Yeah, I think look, it's not. I'm not like oh my god, yes, do more of that. But if you're gonna do a twist, let it be known to the players how it works. Let them play around it. If you find something, you can get a little advantage. I think it's better than saying, hey, pick a thing, you just haven't been to the island yet. Now you go, here's an idle nullifier just for existing. See you later, Janet. You don't get to win just because you flipped a coin or whatever. That stuff is silly, right? This, you have to find it. You have to work for it. Everybody gets the same chance. I like that. Cody finds it, good for him. It's not a guarantee. You got to do something to earn it. I like that. But there's a little bit of mystery. He can play it in a different way if he wants, where he can tell people that he did something that he didn't do. I like that. So when it comes to twists, is it equitable, right? Is there an option for everybody? In this case, absolutely. Anybody could have gotten that. Is it game breaking? No, there's still a vote. People still have to do what the game of Survivor is, which is vote people out, which I like, voting people out on Survivor, not picking a box to decide who goes home, not doing the fire making challenge.
I know you hate that.
Yeah. I still don't like that. But it is what it is, especially not as a surprise at the Final Four. You still vote. It doesn't break the game. And can the players take advantage of the opportunity that exists to make a move? And in this case, yeah, you can do something with it. So as far as twists go, to me, it ticks the boxes of what makes a good. And I like that I don't always come on here and just whinge and complain. I know I do that a lot, but credit where credit is due. This is fine. This is good. I like it. If we're going to throw in some twists, let them play around them and let everybody have a shot at it, and don't break the game. That's all we ask for, really.
Yeah. I have a question for you about this that Corey B, he's here in the chat, but he left us a voicemail about this question and wants to ask you about choose your champion.
I'm not on the voicemail show, am I?
No,
you told me
no.
I said specifically I would not do the voicemail show.
Okay?
I am not. Who kind of guest do you think I am?
I left a voicemail about this because I forgot this wasn't the feedback show.
I'm told, but in case anyone's listening and thinking that I'm above the voicemail show, I will happily do the voicemail show.
Okay. All right. But no. You're perfect where you are. Let's listen to what Corey B has to say.
Hey, Adam. Hey, Rabio. It's me, Corey B here. I wanted to ask you specifically about the choose your champion advantage. And it's a simple question, really, because Cody was told that he could bet on an individual player to win immunity, but there was no negative consequences for him losing. And it made me realize, why didn't they make this a beware advantage? I mean, wouldn't that make sense? Wouldn't that add stakes to the whole thing? Let me know what you think.
Yeah, I mean, back in the beginning of the new era, hey, anything you get, you got to risk something. For Cody, I mean, I guess he get like risked people's trust finding the thing, but should it have been that the advantage is you win and you get immunity, you lose your vote.
Yeah, I think that would have been reasonable. I really don't mind.
And you don't have to play if you don't want to.
Yeah, I think that's reasonable. And it would give them another decision, another because maybe in some cases your vote is more important than immunity, another chance at immunity for yourself. I think that would have been reasonable as well, but I think the way that they did it was just simply rewarding somebody for, sort of winning this challenge. And it's not like he couldn't be voted out. It definitely makes it more difficult, especially the fact that it's revealed afterwards. I think that would have been fine as well. I think either one of those works.
Yeah.
But when somebody says like, okay, there's an advantage hidden out in the jungle, it should be an advantage.
Mm-hmm.
It should be an advantage.
Yeah.
I thought, by the way, that I knew where it was based on that photo, because that beach that they're on brings back so many memories. There have been a lot of people going to the same beaches on the show, but sometimes they change the location of the camp. Do you know what I mean? Like, even if it's the same beach, they might move it down the road a little bit. And so It doesn't feel the same, but everything about where they are is exactly where the Millennials camp was. It's exactly where our merge was, down to the exact camp location and the trees that are in that camp location, down to exactly where they sit on the beach, down to where they were running into the jungle and the paths that are there. Like, this is the most familiar that a camp has felt since Millennials versus Gen X, which is interesting.
Okay. Mackenzie wants to ask you also, I would have preferred it if they revealed who he voted for after the challenge. Waiting until the votes are read basically gave him implicit immunity. Okay, I guess I said asked, but that's really more of a statement. Did you agree with the statement?
No, I think how they did it is fine, because there's nothing ongoing and fun about, oh, he's just immune. Okay, let's say they just reveal it then.
Yeah.
What's the point?
So my issue with it was not necessarily where they revealed it, but I think they shouldn't have told us. I think that it would have been more fun of an episode if we didn't know who Cody had picked.
And I think that if they had a different outcome, they may have done that.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Or if they had shown him lying about who he said he picked, they may have done that. Right? But that's where I think the way that they did it is good, because there are options to do things like that, to make it more of a mystery and to trick the viewers, where he says, I picked this person, turns out he didn't. But nothing like that seemed to really happen, right? So, there wasn't necessarily the need to do that. It wasn't like it was going to be some, oh my God, he picked Owen and now he's saved. If it would have saved him, maybe they would have told the story a little bit differently. But I think the way they did it gives them the most wiggle room to tell stories in a unique way. Whereas if you just reveal it and everyone knows, it's just, that would be a segment where I'm like, why are we doing this? Right? Like, this is just a time filler. But for somebody to get an advantage where they could be immune, there are ways to play around that. And, it definitely helps Cody for sure, but only if he plays it right.
We started talking about Owen and his fandom and his desire to play Last Gasp. I think that there might be some similarities between Owen, the player, and Adam Klein, the player. Do you see any similarities between the two of you?
Yes, a lot. Yeah. When I see his frustration, I see my own, that have probably had it at times in the game, that I've definitely had at times in the game, and that I certainly would have if I were being blindsided every single time. I would, like, he wants it so bad. And I think the frustration finally came out this time, because I think I would guess that he's kind of like me, in that there's a hopefulness that, like, you can always turn things around. And I definitely felt that after I got blindsided the first time when Mari got voted out. I was like, okay, I still have good relationships here. I can still turn this around. But at a certain point, when the end game gets so close, we're running out of time. And I think he feels that the amount of time left to turn the perception of him as a player around is starting to slip through his fingers. And that, for somebody who goes out there with the intention to win or go home, to see themselves potentially starting to fall into a position where they may be somebody that people want to go to the end with because they know they can beat them, even though Owen is super likable and I'm sure he has really great relationships out there, it may be hard to say, you have pulled off all of these moves. We want to, if he wins, it's going to be because people like him, not necessarily because he's pulled off all of these epic moves, unless he pulls something off really big, really quick. And that time is, there's not now, because Final Four isn't a real vote anymore. There's not much time to do that. And I understand the frustration of feeling that. I saw myself going that direction on Winners at War, and I got voted out because I wasn't willing. I would rather take a risk and try to win than go with the flow and end up being
worth a shot
as a GOAT. And it got me voted out earlier than I probably could have lasted longer and taken Nick's spot in that alliance. Nick, I think, kind of took my spot in that alliance. You know what I mean? Because I blew up my own thing and then they replaced me with him. I think I could have probably been in that position if I played it a little safer, but I knew that wasn't going to result in winning. So, I just think Owen, like, captures everything that you want from a super duper fan. The love for it, the passion, the fact that he's been dreaming about it for so long, has applied so many times. Like, I may be a little bit biased, but I cannot help but root for the guy.
Yeah. Okay. So you talked about Owen and time running out. We talked about him potentially getting something going with Gabler, but also we saw Jesse bring him in to talk about this plan with Sammy. And I just thought this was really interesting. I thought it was very well done on Jesse's part. And I think it's an interesting spot for Owen. I actually pulled a clip of this also. I want to listen back to Jesse and the way he talks to Owen here in this episode.
Cody's pushing for Cass. I think Gabler's on board. And Carlo is surprising. To vote Cass. Wow. But what if we don't vote Cass? Yeah. But we let Carla vote Cass.
Okay. So he's sort of like what if we did this? And then Owen fills in the blank here.
To help drive a wedge. Then they're going at each other's throats next time, and then we can count on Cass to vote Carla next time. Hell yeah. Sammy, I don't want him to slip through. No, I 100% agree with you. And I still don't get why people are leaving out of it. It's been annoying. But this is where it changes. Yeah.
So Jesse, he's bringing Owen in on the plan. Kind of like is like leaving like some pregnant pauses where Owen can sort of like fill in the missing steps. And Jesse says, I just don't get why everybody's leaving you out of the plan. Like, that's going to change starting now. Now, Jesse himself has been leaving Owen out of quite a few plans.
Savage.
I don't know why these people keep leaving you out of the plans, Owen. It's not right. It's not right what they're doing to you, Owen.
Oh God, what are these guys doing? Hey guys, tell Owen he can play with us.
Yeah. Now, Owen does have a confessional right after that, talking about he doesn't know if he can trust Jesse. But I did really like how Jesse approached this conversation with Owen.
Yeah. Jesse's a really, really strong player. And I think that Owen recognizes that this is the best opportunity in front of him, but also not a great position to be included in somebody else's plan this late in the game when you're trying to stake your claim for, why you should be the one to win. But he doesn't have any other choice at the moment.
Yeah. But, we're talking about, okay, so Gabler is making plans that involve Owen. Maybe that involve Carla. Jesse is saying like, hey, like, like people need to start telling you the plans. Like that's going to change with me. We're going to start telling you what's going on. Could Owen's fortunes, like the tide, Adam, be rising?
I certainly hope so. But if the fortunes are rising because they want to go to the end with him, because they think they can beat him, is that the winning fortune?
Well,
that's what's not clear.
Look, if somebody like a Jesse is there and has a great game and also has like all these likable things about him and his family, that is going to be tough to beat. But I do think the jury loves the person who they look at as their avatar for if I was in there and I could have, like, nobody's mad at him except for James maybe. And it's like he's, sticking it to the people that, got us out of the game. He's the spoiler. He's the wild card there in the end, especially, he wins like a Final Four immunity challenge or the fire and ends up sort of like, oh, he wasn't supposed to be in the end. And what an alternative to these other two that we're mad at.
Yeah, no, there is a path, but the path is like being the underdog and being likable and having people root for him. And I would guess that in Owen's dream world as a super fan, like he's not imagining that being his path to the end. But at the point in the game where you're not going to have pulled off the most moves, then you have to start, playing to what could win you, which is being the most liked, being the underdog that survives, that sort of thing. I mean, it's not impossible. It would be one of the greatest like underdog stories ever on the show.
But it happens. I mean, Adam, look at the jury that you were on in Winners at War, where you have Tony, who played arguably one of the best games that the game has ever seen. And there were a number of people with, no disrespect to Natalie, but somebody who, came in from the edge, who was the ultimate underdog, sitting there next to Tony, who had, made all of these moves and flashy plays in the game. And there were a number of people that were like, I'm going a different direction. I'm going with the underdog tonight.
Michelle, there was a contingency of us that were thinking about voting for Michelle to like try to give her second place or whatever. And a lot of that was just because we were friends and, not necessary. So people can vote however they want on the jury. And it is certainly possible. It would be like, it's wild to think that could happen, but that would be cool. I mean, again, I'm biased, but like, maybe I'm holding myself back from getting my hopes up too much, but like, that would be cool. It's a tough path. It is a tough path.
Okay.
Is this the jury that's going to say, we don't really care how many moves you made? I don't know. It's tough in the modern era, I think, to have a jury vote that way.
Yeah. Okay. The jury last night, they were chuffed to bits when Sammy pulled out the shot in the dark. They loved it. They were way into it.
Why not?
Why not? Okay. But Adam, the shot in the dark has not had the greatest resume so far on Survivor. Okay. Let's yes.
I disagree because the impact of shot in the dark isn't obvious. Right? It's not shot in the dark is not a great twist because people play the shot in the dark and they get saved. That's not why it's good. It's good because it forces blindsides. Okay. And the fact that it hasn't been played is a testament to the shot in the dark, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Right? People are like, oh, it hasn't made any impact. It's not true. Right? People are getting blindsided. There's more of an incentive to blindside people if you know they have the shot in the dark. And I think it makes for more interesting television. I think it makes producers' jobs easier in terms of editing the show, which is going to make the show better because that other plan has to be convincing. It has to be. And so they're trying to fake out the person they're voting for, but they're also going to end up faking out the audience because they're creating a convincing looking plan in the process that the editors are going to use as a maybe this is actually happening plan, right? And that's good for the show. Think about the lengths that producers, editors would have had to go to in previous seasons when someone's clearly on the bottom, clearly doesn't have an idol, has nothing that they can do, and people are kind of like obvious about, oh yeah, you're going to go home or whatever. You can't do that anymore.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So you would not make any changes for Shot in the Dark for season 44 and beyond?
I'm open. Do you have a suggestion?
Well, I've said that I feel like that the
Not
Shot
that
in the
what
Dark.
I say matters, but
I think what you say matters, and I thought that you really articulated your point very, very well, and I think that you've made a very compelling case defending the Shot in the Dark. I had been thinking that it has not been successful in that we did not really hear the players even think about it a lot in Survivor 43. But again, you're making a strong case as to that because the players have gotten good at blindsiding. I've always said that I thought that the reason the Shot in the Dark is in the game was to sort of like make players paranoid about the use of the Shot in the Dark, that could sort of like destabilize a very certain 5-1 vote to the point where maybe something interesting happens. But there are plenty of good reasons why it's in there. That being said, I have still argued that, okay, there's the Shot in the Dark is 1 in 6. If somebody plays it, goes down to 1 in 5. Like I like the idea of sweetening the pot so players are more compelled to potentially use it as the game goes on.
I think that's reasonable. But at what point, every time somebody uses it, it gets more likely? Is that what you're thinking?
Yes.
Yeah, I think that's
a
reasonable.
progressive jackpot. Is that the right terminology?
Right. And then once it's used successfully, is it out of the game? Is it gone?
I think you could reset it back to 1 in 6. At the point where it's like 1 in 3, maybe I might as well do the Shot in the Dark tonight. I got a 1 in 3.
Right. I don't know. I kind of like that it's a real shot in the dark, that it's unlikely to work, but that it's a last hurrah. I mean, I certainly would have played it. I certainly would. I would have done anything. I would.
Oh, okay. I've got a great question for you about the Shot in the Dark. This is my question about the Shot in the Dark. Okay, so when I was watching the Tribal Council, Sammy gets up. He plays the Shot in the Dark. Okay, everybody knows that they have voted for Sammy. Sammy hands in his scroll. Jeff opens it up. Not safe. Hypothetically, I want to just do the thought experiment of Jeff opens up the parchment. Oh, Sammy is safe. Any votes for Sammy do not count tonight. First question, can Jesse and Carla, Cody is safe, could they play their idols at the point where Jeff opens up the scroll? Safe.
Yes.
They can, even so that it is not past the point where that the idol phase is over.
No, I certainly don't think so. I would be very surprised if it were, because he hasn't started reading the votes.
Okay. Should at that point. And this is almost like becoming like a mini advantage get-in now,
Right.
because now
Right.
at this point, Carla, so Carla, she's already safe. She doesn't need to play her idol. Carla, Owen, Cody, and now Sammy are all safe.
Right.
Jesse should play his idol, or does he feel confident in that he could get Cassidy or Gabler voted out instead of him?
I mean, it depends on what the conversations that they had around camp. I mean, this is like, I mean, I know everything that we do here when we podcast about the show is impossible to know, but this is truly so dependent on how you feel about where you're at in the game. Like, playing an idol or not playing an idol is so dependent on what's going on at camp. And we didn't see the conversations that they had about what if Sammy is safe. What do we do next?
Okay,
and I would guess that they would have had those conversations.
So then I guess we will have some sort of a period of discussion before we go and have a revote. Sammy would not vote on the revote.
I don't think there would be any discussion. I think they would immediately go revote.
Immediately revote?
That's how the game works. That's how it works.
All right, so Cassidy would vote for Gabler, you would think, right?
Yeah, it depends on what they discussed. I mean, you have to imagine that they came up with a backup plan.
Okay. So, yeah, I think that Jesse probably needs to be prudent and play his idol in that spot that Sammy plays.
But I think I think he might have felt like he had the numbers to get out Cassidy at that point.
I guess so. I guess if that's the backup plan, like maybe he like signals to Carla, signals to Cody, and then ultimately doesn't feel like that there's enough of a like group discussion where people are pointing to him that he feels safe. But that would be,
I think it would totally be reasonable
stressful
if he played an idol. But I think he may have thought that it wouldn't be 100% necessary, because look, if people were going to come after him, are they really doing it as a secondary plan? I think maybe not.
What if he'd have to do, Cody, play your idol for me?
Cody. Who has the idol? Cody, I'm going to play your idol for me.
I got to play your idol for me right now. Okay, whatever you need. Okay. So,
and as far as we know, not a single person in the game, including Cody, knows about Jesse's idol.
No one knows about Jesse's idol.
Right.
Okay. Unless we find out in some reveal that everybody
knows about it. Really just feels like Jesse's winning. Right. It really just feels like this is his story. I mean, we like so much of this, he's been in control. I know some people think, oh, it's like too obvious. He's too out in front. But like, I mean, it's all there. It's all there. And he's still got a hidden idol. And
it would be the biggest edit we've seen of any winner, you know, going back to Tony, going back to season 40. So it would be definitely a different feel for the new era. But what are you going to do? Somebody has a big edit.
I think they play to what happened out there, right? Like, I think that Erica's edit was probably a little bit quieter because her story was the lamb to lion, right? And that required quiet. The lamb doesn't make a whole lot of noise, right? Or I guess, do they baa? I don't know. The point being that, like, the story was this, like, boom, out of nowhere, here comes this lion that, like, gobbles everybody up right at the end. And that can only be told in one way, right? Marianne's story is that at first, like, some people thought she was annoying, but was able, like, I think they work with what they have. And if the story is this guy was dominant, I think they tell that story.
Yeah. Another thing about Jesse that I've gotten from doing the exit interviews is that I believe that Jesse has done a really good job of managing his threat level, where I think that we have been watching the show and saying, but why don't they see it? Why don't they stop Jesse? But in talking with people who were out there, I feel like that they did not look at Jesse as being particularly intimidating.
Right. And that's, I think, going to be their great undoing. Right. I think if we're going to tell the reason of why did he win, it's because they didn't recognize him as the threat that he is.
Okay.
And the part that I think is missing from the edit is the how. How is he convincing them of that? But that's where we need hour-and-a-half episodes, I think. There was a lot of context that I felt like was left out of like Millennials versus Gen X and how I won. And I don't think we see what he's doing to keep his threat level low. Because to us, it doesn't appear that he's doing that. But clearly he is, because they're not talking about him.
Mm-hmm. Adam, I have questions for you from the listeners of Rob as a Podcast.
Not the voicemail, right?
I don't think I have another voicemail. I don't believe so.
Phew.
But we got a ton of great questions for you that Sam Moore informs me you tied the record with Suri for getting the most questions from the listeners.
And in a tie, Suri automatically gets eliminated.
Yes. Yes.
I don't write the rules.
Mm-hmm.
It's not fair. It's not fair. Suri should have won. Suri should have won this contest of who got the most questions.
Mm-hmm.
But
that's what happens.
That's
okay.
It's not fair. It's not fair.
Okay. All right. Yoga Shelby wants to know if Owen or Sammy found the advantage. Does someone like Cody have to then consider throwing the challenge in the case he had been picked to ensure Owen or Sammy's vulnerability? I think this advantage could play out more interestingly if someone on the bottom finds it.
Okay, run this one more time.
Okay. Hypothetically, let's just say the person who was on the one of the players that is on the bottom.
Let's say Sammy.
Let's say Sammy. That is Cody's target, which I guess might have been Cassidy. That they think that they found the advantage. Now, we don't know what the advantage was, but if it comes up in a future season, hypothetically, somebody would say, oh, there could be the choose your champion advantage in the game.
Okay.
I am the most likely person to win a challenge. I need to throw the challenge.
No. I don't think so. I don't think so.
Like, let's say hypothetically, let's say Jonathan is it. Let's say this is last season.
Okay.
And the players are aware of what this is. And Jonathan is like, Mr. Adam, I think I need to throw this challenge because I would be the prohibitive favorite to win the immunity. And so I know Romeo might have found the advantage, is going to bet on me.
Okay, first of all, a lot has to happen. Is there a world in which this could be an option? Yes. Like, let's say this happened at the Final Four, and we were actually doing a real Survivor vote, and Dave is the one that finds the advantage, and I strongly believe that he's going to vote for me to win the challenge. Would I throw the challenge? You better believe it, I would. Absolutely. Because if Dave gets immunity, I lose the game. Okay? But that is a very specific example. Most of the time, if there's 7 people left, first of all, there's still going to be a chance to get rid of this person, right? If you're really worried about them. Second of all, if they win immunity, it's only because you also are now immune. Okay? So you're not going to be the person that gets hit by this person being immune. And you know what? That may actually be advantageous to you, because if the person that everyone's trying to get rid of is safe and you're also safe, one of your allies is going to go home and you don't have to do it. And then all your allies are still with you to get out the person that just won immunity, and they're an even bigger threat because they won immunity again, right? So now this is like, I think I got somewhat fortunate to, for example, Jessica, I was devastated that she got rocked out, but it kept our group really tight because we needed each other, right? And then instead of now getting down to a 5, where there's 5 of us, there's only 4 of us left. And so when we get it down to just our group, we're now closer to the end and the $1 million than we would have been if Jessica were still there. And now we have to figure out if I'm going to vote her off or if she's going to vote me off or something else. You know what I mean? So there are so many reasons why not to do that. That's too tunnel vision to just think I have to get this person out right now or my game is over. if you were at the final 5 or the final 4 and that person is going to beat you in the end, yeah, sure, I can see an argument for it. But with this much game left, no, let them win. Let yourself be safe and have them vote out somebody else, and you're one step closer, and they take out a big threat. Fine.
Still think I got to do it, Mr. Adam.
You know what, buddy? You do what you want. All right. I support you. Go ahead.
Trust me on this. We got it. The great Alex G wants to ask you a question. I had a dream that Adam became the new Jeff Probst after he retired. Would Adam be interested in this? And what changes would he make to the game if he were in charge?
Was Alex G inside my dream?
Mm-hmm.
Yes. Wait.
Yes.
Where was Alex?
Don't tell the dream police. Yep.
I don't remember seeing Alex G in this dream that I had, but he must have been there lurking in the bushes somewhere.
You would make some major changes.
No, I don't think I would make major changes. Well, is getting rid of fire making a major change?
Yeah, that's number one.
And I guess I would make some major changes. But this is literally that's my heaven. I think that's my heaven.
Mm-hmm.
I would do anything to become the host of Survivor. That's so massive. Like, I thought winning Survivor would be pinnacle. That would be crazy. So I appreciate that dream just as a compliment. I certainly, don't think that that's what's going to happen.
Yeah. What would you do differently at Tribal? I've been talking about this a lot on the podcast.
Okay. So, I think the struggle with Tribal in the last season or two, because let's give credit where credit is due before we critique. Jeff is a master at Tribal Council. He is unbelievably good at his job, driving conversation, getting people to reveal things that maybe they shouldn't, or just interesting information. And it's because he doesn't put up with nonsense. Mm-hmm. And I don't see this in every international version of the show, right? You watch like Survivor Australia or whatever, and it's like, what, what's going to happen? Well, Jonathan, anything could happen. It's Survivor. And at Tribal Council, you never know what's going to happen. And not only will that be spoken out loud, but it will make air. If you said that in front of Jeff, he would say, cut out that BS. Mm-hmm. We know that. Tell me something I don't know. And then he would lean in and he would do this. And he'd go, wow.
But is that happening now? That I totally get that was happening in season 33. Is that happening in season 43? By the way, congratulations. 10 seasons since your amazing win.
Wow. That's crazy. That is wild. Unbelievable.
We took a year off, but here we are.
Yeah, 6 years. I can't believe it's been 6 years since my mom passed away. Like that, just I think about that all the time. Just like, golly. Anyway, the tribal councils have not been as strong this season. I would agree with that. I would agree with that. And I don't know exactly why. I think it's a lack of specifics and maybe a lack of conflict within the tribe, potentially. Like you need some things to be, and it's the flowiness of it all, right? Because when you have alliances that vote together, that get revealed, that becomes a topic of conversation, right? They're with them. And when you don't have that and people are not revealing any of these allegiances at tribal council, whether it's real or theater, like in the course of Survivor history, people have revealed their alliances at tribal council. Yeah, I'm voting with them. And sometimes they're lying about it, but at least it's a topic of conversation that feels concrete, that feels like, okay, we can do something with this. when it's all like, here's in theory what's happening, it is difficult. And I will say, I felt this in Survivor 40. I felt this maybe starting to shift then, because I would show up as a juror to tribal councils, and tribal councils were endlessly frustrating as a juror. There were no specifics. We had no sense of who was aligned with who. And it was we were like, it feels like Russian roulette, right? And I think that part of that is the evolution of the game and how people are playing and some of the advantages and those sorts of things that make it sometimes feel like Russian roulette, where there aren't clear alliances and people are all of a sudden voting out their closest ally, because why? We don't really know. And so the question then, if I'm just becoming host, it doesn't mean I'm also becoming executive producer, but if I'm host and executive producer, how do you create an environment in which plans can become a little more concrete again? And that I don't know. That there is a clear answer to, because these things are going to evolve and they're going to adapt over time. And maybe we're just in a moment where people are really just taking it one day at a time and playing for themselves. And I do think that is exacerbated by the advantages that may spring up and make your plans worthless, right? Because if you don't even know that let's say there's 7 people left and you're worried that 2 people, you don't know how many votes there are going to be, right? And so you get an alliance of 4, why bother? I'm just going to survive myself because maybe my allies don't even all have their votes, right?
Mm-hmm.
So maybe some of these twists and advantages are making people play a little bit more selfishly day to day. And ultimately, I don't think that that's great for the show.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It's not the worst thing in the world ever. I mean, yeah. I get the complaint though.
Yeah, so you feel like that maybe the perfect tribal council scenario is something like your 5-5 deadlock, where there's a bunch of people who feel like they're over here, a bunch of people feel like they're over here, as opposed to that everybody is like, no, I'm working with everybody, we're all good.
It's all nebulous. It's all, it makes it hard on the audience too, because when everyone has a relationship with everyone, it's hard to track. It's hard to track why things happen.
Yeah, to me, Jeff feels, it seems to me that Jeff feels like less interested in really asking tough questions to the survivors, where what you were describing, that I feel like that for whatever reason, and maybe that Jeff is just as he is like, grown with the show. Yeah. Or is it that because that as being involved with the casting, like he comes to like, he genuinely likes all of these people so much that he doesn't really want to put them on the hot seat in ways that in the past he might have?
I would be curious to ask the cast after the season, did he grill you at Tribal Council? Because like, if I think about Brett at Tribal Council, Brett got absolutely, apparently, I wasn't there, but raked over the coals during some of the Gen X Tribal Councils, where Jeff was like, this is not the person we cast. Like, come on, like, wake up, give me something good. And Brett would like be at camp being like, I got to impress Jeff tonight. Like, come on, like I need to, and it was funny. It was great. We would have like, little practices and we would celebrate Brett and give him big high fives when like he would have a good night at Tribal Council. And it was like an ongoing gag because he felt this like pressure to perform. And so when he came in firing to Tribal Council, he was like ready to go. He's like, I'm going to give good stuff tonight. And he would come out swinging and people would be like, that was awesome. And it would make for good Tribal Councils, right? Yeah. So the wanting to impress Jeff thing is a tool that he uses to get that.
But I don't know if that's anymore, because I wonder if Jeff, as executive producer, it's like, hey, he knows, like, we're casting like these super like inspirational people on the show, and we have a Paralympian who is here, who's a role model, who's inspirational, and like I feel like then Jeff is kind of knows that, okay, the audience will not like him berating like these people that we have like built up into.
Here's
like
the thing, though, is it all happens behind the scenes. You don't see it. Tribal councils, historically, I mean, I don't know if anything's changed, but let's assume they have. Historically, all of what makes Jeff incredible at tribal council is cut out of the broadcast, right? It's him not letting an answer slide and asking it again and making somebody give him something interesting.
I need to go back and watch an old tribal council, like from say from 10 numerical seasons ago, and see if like everything was just like, what does it feel like? Describe. Give me an analogy of
the beginnings of what Jeff really likes now with Zeke and David.
Right.
And they would come to tribal council, and Zeke always had an incredible analogy. And Jeff ate it up.
Yes.
And this is part of, I think, why I was able to win and Zeke and David were not, was because they played to Jeff. And Jeff ate it up, and he loved it. He wanted more, and he would call on them, and he would go to them, and they would smile when he loved it. And they, you know what I mean? And the more that happened, the
it was
more
a cycle.
started looking at them and saying, okay, those guys are threats. Those guys are, whatever. And the more, so, and he,
and like, David went back and did more of it.
Right. And then Christian, right? And then he goes
Ryan Ulrich and Aubrey and
And the more people see from an audience perspective, these are the people that get airtime. These are the kinds of things that he likes to hear about at tribal council. Now you have everybody coming up with their analogies and like doing the whole thing. And some of it is good. Maybe it's now too much of that because they know that that's what Jeff really loves to get at tribal council and on the mat challenges.
Yeah. Okay. I think in the next season,
not like when I hemmed and hawed sometimes,
Yeah. I think in the next season, I think that the Beware advantage should be, okay, you drop this metaphor on in the challenge.
Nobody would bat an eye.
Nobody would bat
no idea that you had an idol.
Yeah. Is there something that would be so difficult to do as a metaphor that nobody could even attempt to do it?
Oh God, you're really testing my creativity here.
Would there be anything that could be a Beware advantage?
Survivor is like, I don't know, a beehive.
A beehive.
No, but this, I feel like you could do all right with that.
Yeah.
You have to protect your queen. And no, see, I'm already coming up with something too easy. What's something harder?
Jeff, Survivor.
Should we test each other? Okay, you throw one at me.
Are you going to do it, or are we doing the test of?
I'm going to try to do it. You're trying to stump me.
All right. I was doing this with Steven last night, but now I'll put the shoe on the other foot. I'll quiz you. Okay. Adam, your analogy is Survivor is like peeing your pants.
Survivor is just like peeing your pants because you're trying to hold it in. You gotta go. You want to get somebody out of the game, but you can't reveal it. You can't let everybody know. You can't tell anybody that you're peeing your pants. So you gotta hold it tight. You gotta squeeze. You can't let anybody know that you're fighting it. You gotta smile through it. Make sure everybody knows that you're not peeing your pants. But then finally, when you get to final tribal council, you can release it all. And boy, there's no better feeling in the world than letting all your pee out when you've been holding it for too long.
Okay, well done.
Thank you.
Adam, Survivor is like...
I'm still going. I thought we were going to go back and forth.
No,
okay,
I already did this. Survivor...
Did you already do this exact game?
I was not challenged to see, at the level I'm challenging you.
Okay.
Adam, Survivor is like the Ebola virus?
You know what, Jeff? I was thinking about this all day back at camp. You know, my great grandfather actually had Ebola and
Oh
was
my God.
the only person in the whole country where he grew up, you know, the Czech Republic, to actually survive this disease. And it made me think, winning Survivor is just like surviving the Ebola virus. It's going to be difficult. You're going to go through a lot of heartache in the process. It's going to pour on you every day. It's going to rain. You're not going to eat anything. You're going to lose a lot of weight. Trust me. But there's going to be one person that becomes the cure, the vaccination for everybody else. And I want to make sure that I have in my blood that resilience. I know that I'm never going to give up. I'm going to be just like my great grandfather from the Czech Republic who survived Ebola to get through this. And I'm going to do it by never giving up. That's why Survivor is just like Ebola.
Okay. Wow. You're really good at this. Okay. All right. One more. Okay. The analogy is Survivor is like the assassination of Abraham Lincoln.
Did you know, Jeff, that there was actually 20 people a part of that wanted to be the guy to pull the trigger on Abraham Lincoln? There was a whole conspiracy. Trust me, I know. I've seen the forums. Okay, I've done my research. I know there's, if you do your research, Jeff, you'll know that that's actually what happened. But only one guy got to be the guy to actually pull the trigger. And the moment he did, they took him down. You don't want to be the guy pulling the trigger. Everyone was so excited. They were like, oh, I pick me to assassinate Abraham Lincoln. Pick me. And the one guy that does, boom, taken down in the next instant. You got to be the guy at the back of the room suggesting to assassinate Abraham Lincoln and voting for the others to be the one to actually carry it out.
Yeah.
Don't be the guy with the pistol in your hand. Be the guy sitting at the back of the theater watching it all go down and applauding at the end of the night.
So the question has come up: is anybody fact checking Adam?
What do we need to fact? What do we need to fact check?
I don't want to spread fake news.
Research.
Yeah. So
there was a whole group. Yeah. I promise you.
Yeah. Okay.
Trust
but you do get a beware advantage.
I saw it on YouTube.
Yes. Okay.
Okay. So.
I
think what's the moral of the story? I think you can come up with you could tell any story you want on Survivor. Did I pass the test?
No, you really did. So yeah, I feel like we do get the colorful analogy for sure. But do we get anything of substance is really the question. Okay. Let me get back to some other questions. Justin wants to know, okay, Justin Feinberg, what was Adam's reaction to seeing himself on TV again last night during David Wright's Consumer Cellular Survivor Moments of Connection? Is it true that David's strongest connections got him through that challenge?
I was on Survivor? I watched it on Paramount Plus. See, this is how I know I don't have friends anymore.
Yeah.
Not a single person was like, hey, I saw you on TV last night.
Yeah.
Is this what happens when you get into your 30s, Rob? People stop saying they saw you on TV. Nobody told me this. Can somebody send it to me? I want to watch it. So what happened? I was on the TV.
Yeah, if you have it on
Consumer
DVR,
Cellular owe me more money.
I don't know. Do they give you money for this?
No, they should. My brother was on one, and he was like, "Where's my paycheck?"
Yeah, let me see if I can bring this up for you. Let me give you another question, and then I'll see if I can at least play the audio clip for you.
Okay.
here as I bring up my YouTube TV. Okay. There's a question from Nolan Lance. Wants to know about Jesse and about how at this point in the game, it seemed like that Ricard and Omer were the front runners in their respective seasons, but we know that their runs were both cut short in at the final three, before the final three. Do you think Jesse's in a similar spot? We have been playing the I Feel Comfortable confessionals for him for a couple episodes in a row now. Okay. So, Adam, let me put you on the spot. Do you think that Jesse is going to be the one to pull this off, or do you think that he will be the next in that trajectory?
I think he's going to be the one to pull it off, but I said that about Omer. I said I was wrong then, so I'm probably wrong again. I was convinced that Omer was going to win. Actually, just to be clear, Marianne was my pregame winner pick, and I did believe early on that she still had a shot when everyone else wrote her off. But at a certain point in the merge, I was like, okay, yeah, this is Omer's story.
Yeah, I think you were actually on the podcast, if I recall. I think that you came on right when Omer got voted out. I believe you
Whatever
were on...
I did, I probably said very emphatically something that was totally incorrect.
No, I that somebody fact checked me on this, but I believe you came on right after Omer got voted out, and it was
How
like
do you
that.
remember this?
I mean, first off, that having conversations with you is very memorable.
I appreciate that, but you have conversations with like so many people all the time. My God,
I want to say that and when I talked to you in Survivor 41, I believe I talked to you. I believe it was in week 2.
How do you remember that?
I
guess people ask us about that all the time when it comes to what do you mean? How do you remember Carolina Eastwood was the first person voted out of Survivor?
Look, my conversations with Adam Klein are very memorable. Okay.
Yeah. Got a good memory. What was the point? What were we talking about?
We're talking about is Jesse going to be the next to get Omer
no, I think he's the front runner. I think he's going to win. That's if I had to bet,
he has to be the front runner. I guess the question is, will he be able to pull it off?
I think so, but I'm wrong every other time. So I apologize, Jesse, if I curse you.
Yes, I think in hindsight he'll look back and remember. I think it was Adam Klein who jinxed me. Otherwise,
apparently everybody else does. I mean, you seem to remember everything that I've ever said, so Jesse probably will too.
I don't think I've ever said you jinxed somebody.
I remember that you just said it.
Yeah. Okay. I do have that consumer.
I don't have a good memory. So.
I have the consumer cellular commercial queued up.
Right.
This is gonna be audio only. Okay. Here we
go.
Sometimes it's our strongest connections.
I'm such a crappy swimmer. Nobody wants me on their team.
That get us through the game.
Very good.
You got it. You never give up.
I'll never forget the support that they've given me.
Survivor, sponsored by Consumer Cellular. Premium nationwide coverage for less.
Yeah. I mean, you weren't prominently.
I didn't hear my voice at all. So my voice.
No. David writes that
I was saying, yes, sit out. I don't care.
Yeah, I'm not a strong swimmer, and Dave writes, "I'll never forget this my entire life."
No, that was the moment that Dave lost the game, I think.
Wow. So, are you saying that it was actually not a moment of connection?
Oh no, it was. It totally was. It was actually very moving, very touching, very beautiful, and that's what was detrimental to his game. Certainly, that conversation cemented him as the guy that cannot be taken to the end. It changed. I mean, people were already kind of talking about Dave like that a little bit, but after that challenge, it was like common conversation around camp that, well, I'm not going to the end with that guy, you know? But it was really touching and beautiful and an incredible moment. And Dave is still one of my favorite people on the whole freaking planet. But I do think that game-wise, it probably wasn't great for him.
Yeah. probably wouldn't have been a great postscript for Consumer Cellular to add on. And this was the
And
moment
just cost him
that
the
David
gift.
Wright lost the game. But you'll never lose your signal with Consumer Cellular.
What even is Consumer
I
Cellular?
think you might lose your,
Have you ever heard of Consumer Cellular outside of these particular?
Yeah, so
ads on
I think
Survivor?
that Consumer Cellular, I think they
Did I just have deja
advertise.
vu? Have we talked about this before?
No, I'm not sure if we have. I don't believe
You
so.
would remember.
I think I would remember, but Consumer Cellular, I think that most of their advertising is they are really playing to the later days crowd, and they are really pushing themselves as a low-cost alternative to getting a contract with your Sprints or Verizons, or I don't know why I said Sprint first, Verizon or AT&T,
I used to.
where, yeah, you or your T-Mobiles of the world. And so I think they really push themselves as a very low-cost carrier.
Did they buy ad time from you as well? Did we just
No.
run an ad? Is that what? Because I mean, you're saying all the right words. They're loving this.
I guess so.
Except for saying about how they appeal to like old people.
Yeah, I kind of feel like
they probably wouldn't have liked that.
Right. Like if your phone is in a holster on your belt, you may consider Consumer Cellular as your carrier. Yeah. If you go shopping for cell phone plans at Costco, Consumer Cellular might be for you.
If you still have a car phone.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. You remember car phones?
Sure. Yeah.
My dad, I think, had a car phone until like 2020. No, it's not valid, but he had a car phone for a long time.
Right. If you're on a flip phone, then Consumer Cellular might be your carrier of choice.
I miss the flip phone. I remember I ran over my flip phone in a go-kart and it was still fine.
Yeah. They could take a beating.
Those things could take a beating.
They knew what they were doing back then.
Oh, yeah. Back in my day when they made, really strong products. Not like they do now, sending everything to China.
Let's do a couple more questions. Okay. Eternal Dreams on YouTube asked about 3 idols plus immunity. Could 4 out of 6 be immune at the next tribal council? Do you think we're headed towards Advantage Geddon?
Whoa. Say that again. So
all right.
got
next week, 3 idols and individual immunity.
4 people, 6. Wow.
Mm-hmm.
Well, no, because there's only 4, not 5. There'd have to be 5. But it could happen at 5.
Yep.
It could happen at 5. If everyone holds on, it will happen at 5.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. If everyone holds on to their idols at the next tribal council, someone will get, advantage get endowed at 5.
Okay.
Wow.
Who would be the most likely victim of a potential advantage get-in?
Well,
not the 3 people with idols.
Right. So who's left? Gabe? It'd probably be Owen.
Owen. Oh, wow. Owen going out in an advantage get-in would be like a very fitting end to his story.
Cherry on top to his shoot sandwich. Forget if I can swear on here.
Yeah. I mean, you can, I think, I think for us to hear you swear, I think might be uncomfy, but you can if you want to.
I think I probably already have.
If you need to.
I stopped myself once before, though, in this podcast. I do recall that.
Okay.
You probably do, too.
Did I stop myself?
Well, you probably also recall that.
Well, when you swore?
I stopped myself because you remember everything. It was just a callback.
Yeah.
We can keep going. It's fine.
Okay. Ben has a question. So Ben wants to know from you, Adam. One thing I love so much about your Millennials versus Gen X game was your self-awareness about who you could beat at the end. There were a lot of people you could not have beaten, like a Jay or a David, but you were able to make multiple maneuvers to get to Final Tribal Council with Ken and Hannah. I see Owen in somewhat of a similar spot. where I think he has a great story arc that he could tell the jury about and get votes, but I feel like he cannot beat Jesse or Carla. I thought he was going to try to have Gabler and Sammy be his Ken and Hannah, but now that Sammy is gone, is there a good combination left that Owen can win against?
I don't know. And I do wonder if, I mean, look, it's hard to critique someone who, you know, has been on the bottom and says that they have no pull and influence or whatever. But I do wonder if maybe, is there any way that he could have kept Sammy around potentially? I mean, did he have any way? Could he have gone balls to the wall in this episode to try to influence the game? And I don't know if it would have been possible, but maybe Sammy's somebody that he maybe could have, you know, potentially had a shot next to at the end. And who is he? I don't know. It is easier to figure it out inside of the game. I think as a viewer, I don't think I'm as good as figuring out who to, because there's a lot that we don't see. But when you're there, people, it actually blows my mind, even on a win. I know I've said this before, but even on a winter season, that people just don't pay enough attention to the jury. They're really just not taking in everything that the jury is giving, and they give a lot. It's very rare that the jury is faking their reactions. And unless they're still playing the game and on the edge of extinction, which is because, like, I didn't give away anything. It was so straight-faced when I was still in the game, in theory, because I didn't want to give away who I was rooting for, or who I would want to align with, or anything like that. In fact, I did actually do some things intentionally to, like, try to mess with people's perceptions of, like, that I had no friends, that sort of thing. But for the most part, if you're out of the game, if you're sitting on the jury, most of the time it's because you're out of the game. And, like, at that point, you just don't really care that much to, like, hide your true feelings, you know? So you can learn a lot. You can learn a lot by watching the jury. And I think people don't do that nearly enough.
But I think for Owen, that at his position right now, he can't be worried about who can I beat in the end. That his job,
to be, though. He has to be. Everyone has to be.
But his job is to stay in the game right now. And, like, we were talking about this last night, that, could Owen have done blah, 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 blah. Yeah, it's like Owen needs to just be on the right side of a vote first, and then worry about, okay, now who can I get rid of that I want to get rid of?
Depends what the goal is. What is the goal? Is the goal to win the game?
I think for Owen, the goal starts with survive 3 more days in the game.
What is the ultimate goal? What is the you got to have?
Of course, the goal is to win, but you have to. I think that it's
too late, though, to just survive. I think, like,
well, I mean, he has immunity, but I think that this was a productive round for him. That he advanced. He made some relationships in this round, and maybe the next round is when he needs to make a big swing. But this is the new era. This is I mean, did Marianne have a great move on her resume prior to the final 6? Not really.
You have to know that there are enough people left who you can beat. If there are not, then you need to do crazy. You need to make big, you need to do something to change the hierarchy. And if you don't do anything to change the hierarchy and you simply make it to the end, you will lose. Okay. So this is not on Owen. I'm not saying Owen is in this position because I don't know the hierarchy. But if any given person sees themselves in the final 7 and there's only one person that they can beat, it is not enough to just survive. If you want more money and you want to make the final 3 so you can get a little bit more money, sure. But if the only goal is to win, and I think that is the only goal for some people, or should be, or whatever. For
Owen, to go back to poker terms for you, I think that Owen has multiple outs to still win the season. I don't think that he's one of these people where, like, we might have said maybe like for Romeo or something like that. Okay, well, he can only like draw.
And I agree with that, and I think that's totally reasonable and fair. But
Mhm.
if you find yourself in a position where you know you can only beat one person and there are still 7 people left, you have to change your standing somehow.
Mhm.
And that should be priority number 1.
Okay. I got
Over surviving, I think.
Okay, 2 more questions that I have for you. Okay. Jilly G wants to know, I would love to hear from Adam and the Rick Devens theory of
gonna bring
camera
this up if you
people
didn't.
play tricks on you when
Yeah.
idle and advantages are
Yeah.
searching. That's what Rick said on Twitter. Do you have any insight on this?
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So to give a little context to people who didn't see this on Twitter, Dalton Ross basically tweeted, I don't understand why people don't use, cameras to their advantage to find these things. Rick Devens posted himself and responded to this like, you don't think we do? Like, we do. And the cameramen will mess with you. The camera people will mess with you. And, zoom in on things that aren't there. I think that for the most part, I'm going to side with Dalton Ross on this. I think that not to minimize Rick's experience, but I don't know that his experience is everybody's experience. I think that he probably had a really fun, goofy relationship with a lot of the camera people out there, and I think they probably enjoyed having fun with him. I think he also was probably being way too obvious about using that as a strategy, and that will annoy producers and camera people, right?
Mhm.
So if you are looking at the camera and then you look at the thing, that is very frustrating for them because they cannot use that shot, right? Like, then it's so obvious that that everyone will say the camera gave it away, right?
Mhm.
So if you're doing this and then you look at it and it's there, they're gonna be annoyed by that. And yeah, maybe they either they had a really fun relationship with him and they were just goofing around, or they did that on purpose to get him to stop doing that because they didn't like what he was doing.
Yeah.
And I think both could be potential options. You have to be subtle about that. They're doing their job and you have to think from their perspective. Yes, I need the shot, but I also don't want to be accused of giving it away, right? So there are things that you can do that can give you a sense of this hot and cold game without directly being in the frame and being like, is it here? Is it here? You know what I mean?
What can you do?
Well, I think I think they were doing this in a sense. There has got to be a reason why so many of the conversations and the shots or whatever are them in this one area. That camp is massive. I've been there. Okay.
Mhm.
They felt that something was in that area. That's why they kept gathering there.
Yeah.
They kept talking like, where is this thing? And they were always in that area when they were having that conversation. Why? Because they probably were already using a form of this strategy, right? But when you're looking for an idol, you're not looking at bark. You're looking at branches. You're looking at roots. You're looking in holes. You're looking in underneath things, right? It's not common for something to be hanging like on the tree bark like that. Your eyes don't, that's not where I would first look either. So, I do think that they should have figured it out. Like, I think that there were so many shots that are a little bit off center, right? If I'm not in the shot, like, what is going on with that camera? And I would look at every inch of that tree. Man, at least I think I would. I mean, it's you can't say for sure if you're not the one that was there in that moment, but like, I definitely think they missed some clues for sure. And that if they would listen to Dalton Ross's tweet before going on that search, I think it would have been advantageous to them. Long-winded answer, but that's what I do, I suppose. So
Okay. No, it was a great answer. Very informative for the future players. Let me give you one more question from Kevin Kretzer. Wants to know, Adam, who do you think has been the best at confessionals this season?
I should have an answer for this ready to go, because I do notice when someone I'm like, wow, you see why they got cast, right?
Mhm.
They're such a good. It's the ability to like say what you think about everything that's going on. It might, like seeing Owen's frustration come out in confessional makes a great confessional. I think that's a great example of like your opinions guiding you. I'm trying to think who any idea. Any thoughts come to mind?
Look, I think they're all pretty good in confessional. I think that Owen is a standout. He's been a great narrator. Jesse is very good. I think that Carla
Jesse has
is
a lot of fun for sure. Carla, yeah. I remember watching the first episode of this season and saying these are their casting interviews, right? When he's going to each person down the line, he's had that conversation with them before. This is what they talked about in casting with Jeff Probst. And you see it so clearly. And they get so good at telling the same stories, because a lot of casting, honestly, and this is a relief to people that I work with that start to go through the process, that it's a lot of figuring out like what your best stuff is and keep coming back to it. Right? Because you're meeting new people at every step along the way. And if something has been working for you, you don't have to reinvent the wheel. You don't have to keep coming up with new stuff. Just give more of that, right? And so a lot of those things he had heard before. But I don't know that I have like this person is for sure the best confessional giver of this season. I would have to go back and think about that a little bit.
Okay.
I don't know. What do you think if you had to pick a number one?
I think that Owen has probably given us the most
Sammy has had really good confessionals as well. I think really, really like feeling it, speaking with passion, speaking with conviction, saying what you believe, saying what you think about what's going on, having fun with it makes a big difference.
Yeah. All right. Adam, I do recall all of our conversations. I have to say, I think this might be one of the best.
Wow.
Just because I think we covered so many different topics, and I thought we had a lot of interesting thoughts on what's going on in this game.
Well, I appreciate that. I feel like you always give me compliments. And so,
and I mean them.
I hope that I never, ever get desensitized to them, because they are quite nice.
Yeah.
And I appreciate that. And I've really enjoyed this conversation as well.
We had a really fun conversation. Who do you think is out next?
Let's see. I should have come prepared with this as well. Okay, so let's think about the dynamics. I think the alliance has always I think the core. I mean, and again, this is me reading between the lines and thinking that Jesse and Carla have more going on than the show is telling us. So I think they have been the core, with each of them having a side person. And so I think for a long time, the main alliance has been Cody, Jesse, Carla, and Cassidy. Otherwise, the vote where I think it was Ryan went over Cassidy, to me, that one didn't really make sense. With that, like, I thought Cassidy was a much bigger threat, right? Unless their connection with Cassidy was stronger than we were seeing on the show, or if their connection with Carla was stronger than we were sitting on the show.
Yeah.
Where they wanted to maintain that.
My interpretation of what happened there was that Ryan was really pushing that he was a free agent. He was working against Coco. He was a number that was working with Owen and Noel and like the people that were kind of at the bottom. And rather than, take out Cassidy, who was, if they were basically, if it's Jesse and Cody with Carla and Coco, then it made more sense to take out Ryan, who was, a free agent who was, working with all these different stragglers, as opposed to Cassidy, who was the loyal number of their ally, Carla.
Okay. Yeah, I think that's reasonable. I think that makes sense. So, okay, let's assume that 4, what I'm saying is true, that 4 is the core. That leaves Gabler and Owen on the outs. And always the question of, will the core turn on itself?
Mm-hmm. My biggest question is
no. I'm going to go with no.
Okay.
And I think that Gabler gets chopped. That's what I'm going to go with. I think they see
who wants that. Who's the person that's pushing for that?
It would be.
Does he get caught somehow?
Well, let's see. Yeah, because if Jesse and Cody feel like they have him, then that wouldn't make sense. I mean, I don't want it to be Owen. So I think I'm like letting that get the better of me. Oh, wait, hold on. Let's remember, I forgot that now Carla's betrayal of Cassidy is out in the open.
Mm-hmm.
I think that will matter.
Yeah.
I'm going to go with Cassidy.
I think I might say it's Cassidy, right? I know last night I was saying I thought it could be Owen.
I think if Jesse has to pick between Cassie and Carla, I think he's going to side with Carla.
Mm-hmm.
I think he wants Cassidy out, and I think that he now has numbers to do it. Yeah, let's go Cassidy.
Okay. You heard it here from the great reality TV expert, Adam Klein, helping people get cast on the show, cannot confirm or deny if 9 people from Survivor 44 used his consulting services to get onto the show. Adam, where do people go to hear more about what you can do?
AdamKlein.com/casting. It's just my name, ADAMKLEIN.com/casting. And good news for Rob Has a Podcast listeners.
Yes.
I am currently running my Cyber Monday sale. Can I get a ding? Yes.
Of course.
Let's go. So it's a long Cyber Monday. From now through the end of the year, I am running my Cyber Monday sale. $50 off the premium package, $75 off the fresh start package. If that means nothing to you, well, I guess you got to go to adamklein.com/casting and find out what it means and what it includes. And you can contact me via the bookings tab on my website if you have any questions about working with me.
Okay. If you have not gotten yet from this conversation, Adam cares very much about the people that he works with. And so if this is something that you are interested in,
I get so invested.
I know.
When I have people that like get called and then get cut, it like there was a day last year that I called D-Day that was just like a stab to the heart. And I knew I could see them going through the list because like every 10 minutes I was like getting a call. I was like, no. But there's always going to be some survivors. So
yeah. Well, it's not just for Survivor. I'm sure for Big Brother, Amazing Race, any of these other shows.
Netflix. Squid Game, $1 Million Island was a big one until that got canceled. I had a lot of people doing really well in that process, and then they cut it from underneath us. That was another D-Day. My heart. But yeah, there are other shows too. So not just Survivor. But I gotta say, a lot of my clients want to be on Survivor.
No doubt. So if you want to work with Adam, that I do not think that there is a better resource out there for you to check out than the great Adam Klein. Adam, thank you so much. I really enjoyed this.
I had a lot of fun. It's always a blast coming on. I always think, oh, I don't think I have that much to talk about this time. And then 3 hours later,
no, this turned out to be a really good episode to talk about. So I'm glad we did it. Of course, I will be back tomorrow for my feedback show with Bryce. Now, I hope that, don't take this the wrong way. I have a whole different list of things to ask Bryce about from the episode when I rewatched it.
How?
Oh, well, I could tune in tomorrow to find out.
More commercial, cellular.
No, not the commercial. Not that. But we will have a lot to talk about.
Somebody's going to send that to me, right?
Sure.
Tweet at me the cellular.
Send it to Adam Klein, okay? And then we will be back on Friday for the feedback show. Get your voicemails in. Go to robhasawebsite.com/voicemail for that. Anything else fun coming up for you, Adam?
I'm going to Hearts of Reality.
Oh, that's next weekend, correct?
Yes, that is next week. If I'm raising money, if people would like to donate to Give Kids the World Village, I don't know how to Google Adam Klein Hearts of Reality and click the link, and I would really appreciate if you
I've always wanted to get down there.
Why don't you? Kids? Family?
Usually my wife says, you're not going to Florida go to hang out with reality people.
It's a business expense. It's not
the expense. It's like hey, you're
can't be partying.
Yeah, you have a family and you can't go to Florida to go party with reality people for a good cause. It's for a good cause. Yeah. Come on, one time. Come on, Rob. When she listens to this, maybe she'll reconsider. Come out. You do need to maintain those connections, Rob. How are you going to get podcast guests? That's a good question. Right. All right. Well, Adam, thank you so much. Thanks everybody who joined us for this one. We got a lot of thank you to the patrons as well. And we'll be back on Friday with our feedback show. Also, check out our coverage of The Amazing Race. Are you enjoying The Amazing Race this season, Adam? I am. The twins are like, okay, yes. I got to say, I have not watched yet last night. No spoilers. But I am so impressed by those twins. They are like unbelievable. It would be like such a cool underdog story. Watch, they probably already got. They're an amazing story, for sure. An amazing story, but there's actually a lot of really good teams. Luis and Michelle, Michelle are so much fun. I know you can't say also that there are. You cannot confirm or deny that there are numerous teams, Amazing Race teams that you got onto this that you cannot confirm or deny that either. Or deny that every single team on the Amazing Race was a final. Yeah, I cannot do that. Yes. Okay. Oh man. And maybe there may be people that you got on Big Brother that's how they got onto the Amazing Race. Right, and MTV The Challenge. And The Price is Right. Yes. Yes. It's true. Just not $1 Million Island. Those people all got cut. Yeah, but they would have been on. They would have been on. They would have been in the multiverse. They're stars. Squid Game. Come on. That'll be fun. That'll be fun. Okay. All right. Thank you so much for joining us. Take care, everybody. Have a good one. Bye.